take the love I have for you and wrap it in a bow. I'll leave it under your Christmas tree and wait for your surprise. And then I watch the sparkle in your eyes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hear the jingle jangle. Rudolph's on his way. Come to pick up old Saint Nick and hit the new highway. Well, I'll be stopping over for some Christmas cheer. This season's got to be the best. Midnight's almost here. And if you're wondering how I knew that I love you so, I can't kiss anyone else but you under the mistletoe. When I tell Santa just what I'd like, he'll say ho ho ho. I'll just tell him to wrap you in a bow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And if you wondered how I knew that you love me so, I'll take the love I have for you and wrap it in a bow. I'll leave it under your Christmas tree and wait for your surprise. And then I watch the sparkle in your eyes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a rock and rollin' Christmas and I'm feeling mighty fine. I got a new pair of jeans and a twanging guitar and I got you on my mind. You know I'd love to love you, especially this time of year. I got you in my arms and we're all alone and midnight's almost here. I got you in my arms and we're all alone and midnight's almost here. I got you in my arms and we're all alone and midnight's almost here. Here, look at this. Oh, nobody's. What? We're missing two people.
Why don't we all walk away?
I'm going to do this.
Next time.
Here
Next
we go.
time.
That should be good. There we go. So I wanted to turn this on. This is the outside with my Christmas lights showing in the window. That camera. It's actually kind of warm today. They quit. Here we go. Here, now you should see these comments, Brett. There you go. You see that one?
Yep.
There you go. So you'll see these now.
Oh, mine's backwards.
Yours is what?
Oh no, there it is. There it is. I got it.
Your comments
Thought
are
it was
backwards?
reversed. Yeah, I thought they were reversed for a second. Now they're fine.
No, they shouldn't be. Good evening from Brazil.
Yeah, he's just from Brazil, that's all.
Exactly. And we have hello from Canada. Hello from Canada.
Maybe they can explain Boxing Day.
That's England, right?
And Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have
Oh,
it in
it's-
Australia
yeah.
too.
Well,
Yeah.
What is that? To me, it's like you're taking your presents and wrapping them back up and returning them to the store, putting them back in the box.
Oh, we
that
have
would
that.
be Boxing Day. Right. To me, that's Boxing Days.
No, it actually goes back to a much earlier time in England where you had household servants, and the Boxing Day was the day when they got the box of fabric they could make their uniforms for the next year from that fabric.
Oh.
But I
So
don't
it's actually not
understand.
very nice
Where does
Yeah,
the
that
word
was a
box
present.
come in? Where does the word box
because they
come in?
gave them the fabric in a box.
But we get all our
They got-
presents in a box.
Not in those years. We're talking about 150 years ago in England. So
Okay.
no, I don't
Okay.
think everything came prepackaged from the store in a box in those days.
Oh, they didn't have Amazon in those days?
No, no, no.
And
It's
here we
amazing
Philip,
now. If
go.
you're looking for a new address to move, it's like, is it an Amazon deliverable address? That's the most important thing. That and internet. House, who cares?
Well, a lot of people, I'm just going to say in Maryland, in this area, they have porch pirates and people are stealing their packages and they're following the UPS. But, but the thing is, because of the Ring doorbell video cameras, everybody has these people on video. Sometimes they can be recognized, but it's really weird that people, I don't know. I'm off the street enough, so I usually don't have to worry about that. But I am concerned if something important, like I just got this week, and it was coming at 10 o'clock at night. This is a new DJI Action 5. It had a special where you got 2 free batteries with it and $15 off, so I picked it up. I have the Action 4, but I got the Action 5. I don't want this sitting out there all night, just in case somebody decides to,
Yeah.
They'd like it more.
Yeah, they'd like to borrow it for an extended period of time. Okay, none of
I
your
always wonder
business
what-
says it's winter version of Black Friday. I'm not sure what the heck that means.
Obviously, all your Apple laptops and everything, they require a signature. But what happens if you just order some, $100 toaster, and it gets stolen off your? Who you just tell them I didn't get it? Or,
Well, yeah,
No.
if it's Amazon, you can do that. They have a process, and Amazon's great with that stuff. They'll just cave and give it to customers always right kind of thing. But I don't know. I don't want the hassle. So I have cameras up. I have like 3 cameras outside. Anything important, I make sure that I'm watching for it. But this DJI Action 5 came at night. So I got up at night and went out there and picked it up off the porch. So,
well, as you're getting up at like 3 a.m. anyway, right?
yes, 3 a.m. That's my alarm set for 3 a.m. Between 2:30 and 3, I'll get up out of bed. I go to bed early, though. I go to bed 7 o'clock. So I still get my 7 or 8 hours of sleep. I work in D.C. for 20-some years, and I had to be in D.C. at 6 o'clock in the morning. So for 20-some years, I was getting up at 3 o'clock and leaving at, 3:30, 4 o'clock to get down to D.C. So I was kind of used to it. Because you had no traffic. You got to D.C. at 6 o'clock, there's no traffic unless there's a problem. Weather or an accident, it's just like nothing to zoom down there and parking and stuff. So that's what I got there at 6 and left at 2:30 plus or minus for a long time. So I'm used to it. So we got Gabriel says, imagine a day to recover from Christmas, get great shopping deals, watch sports, and continue the festive mood. I guess that's what he means, Boxing Day. I mean, in 2020. Yeah, in 2024.
That is exactly what happens. That's what it is now, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What it's turned into. Absolutely.
And a big sports day, of course. The most important one, of course, is the Sydney to Hobart yacht race.
Oh, it is?
There's an ocean-going yacht race between Sydney, which is up the coast of New South Wales, down to the southern capital of Hobart, which is down on the bottom end of Tasmania. So it's I think the fastest boats do it in about 27 hours, and the slowest ones take 3 days.
Wow.
We were in Hobart just after the race had landed, so all the yachts were already in the harbour. That's quite spectacular up close.
Oh, I'm sure they are. So the yachts are they gas-powered engines or solar? Is any of them electric?
Wind-powered engines. They are wind-powered engines, and wind powers
All of
them
them?
own.
All of them?
Yes, it's a wind race.
Well, I never associated sails with yachts. I always think yachts have, nice big engines in the back. And
A yacht, by definition, has sails, but it's become applied to things that don't have sails. But technically,
Gotcha.
if it's a yacht, it's got sails. So But no, it's not the common use. It's not common modern use. No, this is it's a wind only. So it's the skill of the crew, and I get a little bit the luck of the weather and the prevailing winds. But yeah, it's a pretty torturous race because there's no breaks. You know, you're doing 27 hours to 3 days without any sleep.
No break. Oh, those kind of breaks. I thought you meant no breaks. You can't stop the ship.
Well, there's no. Yeah, you really can't do that either.
Let me introduce everybody for people that are joining in. Over here, over this side, we have Philip Hodge. He's on the opposite side of Santa Claus. They see I'm pointing the opposite side of Santa Claus on my thing. And then down there, the guy's pointing, has his number one finger raised in the air. That's Brett Williams from Brett FX. In the middle, down here is Miss Serena Catania. And of course, hello. Bradley Olson, my friend for a long time now. He's looking at my finger. There you go. And right below. But people are going to switch around. We're not going to have the same positions. I'm going to switch people around so we keep people on their toes. There's our friend Gabriel Spalding. Says hello, everyone. Gabriel, it's good to see you at the Creative Summit, which we're going to talk about somewhat. And we're going to talk about, we're still waiting on Final Cut, the next update to Final Cut Pro, because they have some bugs they have to fix, right? Has anybody experienced bugs themselves? I've reported one bug. Mine was, for some odd reason, United Audio, U-Audio, the plugins, they would trigger a rescan of audio units every time I launched Final Cut Pro. So I reported it to the team, and I reported it to the forum on a couple weeks ago on the internet. But what I've done, it was just bizarre because I have U-Audio, one of the pain in the butts way they do things. When you get an update, they install their entire catalog of plugins, whether you own them or not. So it was scanning 250 plugins every time I launched Final Cut Pro, just the U-Audio ones. So what I did was I took all those plugins, put them in a folder, so Final Cut wouldn't see them in the components folder. So that solved that problem. And surprisingly, my Apollo Twin X still saw them where I put them. Because I thought it was going to give me an error, but it didn't. For somehow it's tracking the plugins that I have. So that was my report, but I've seen other reports of if you use a magnetic mask and compressor, it doesn't. If you export via compressor, the magnetic mask data doesn't follow, or there's an error or something. I've heard that one multiple times. Anybody else have any issues with 11 that they've seen personally?
I'm actually about to dive in a little bit more today, hoping for the bug fix update to come out. But Gabriel Spalding, who's messaging us, said that he was having an issue with showing the horizon, that he couldn't turn it off.
Really?
Either with the key
or
the menu, and then showing custom overlays working, not with the menu, not with the shortcut. So, and he's tried trashing preferences and everything, and that's not working for him. So I don't know if anybody else is seeing that. I saw an issue. Our friend Chuck Braverman. Oh, nice. Chuck Braverman was having an issue with exporting video like just straight to a ProRes, and there was like in QuickTime there was a noticeable gamma shift, and I haven't tested that myself, but I wanted to look at it.
Haven't people complained about gamma shift in Final Cut or QuickTime for years and years and years and years? I see that all the time. People that are really specific about matching colors, whether it's still or video, they're always comparing Final Cut versus QuickTime. But that seems like it's been around for a long time, Philip. What do you know about that?
Well, of course, that was QuickTime that they complained about. We haven't used QuickTime for quite a long time now. We've been using AV Foundation, which was made on a basis of color management all the way through, and Final Cut Pro was also built on a color managed workflow from the ground up, which means that going within Apple's ecosystem, you should never see a gamma shift. It should always be handled within Apple's gamma system. But as soon as you go away from QuickTime Player 10 and Final Cut compressor, that area, and you go over to Premiere or to Resolve, to a large degree, you are on your own at that point. You need to actively manage the gamma that is being used, particularly.
Well, Phil, this one was especially strange because actually I'm looking at a screenshot he sent me. He has it open in QuickTime. It's tagged 111 Rec 709 across the board. Export straight from Final Cut. I guess it's an H.264, so I don't know if that had some weird shift, but it's definitely a clear shift. So I was going to test that on my end and see what was happening there. He said he exported it straight from Final Cut, and usually you're right. I never see that issue. I've seen it coming from other apps. If it's tagged 121, then it'll sometimes show darker in QuickTime than Final Cut, but that's just because QuickTime's sort of respecting that untagged gamma. Anyway, it's really, really nerdy, and yes, for the last decade, tracking gamma shifts has been a lot of fun, which is why Compressor at least has a gamma tool that you can kind of adjust and preview it and hopefully get it right. But
it does?
Yeah. Yes.
So,
yeah, if you're in Compressor, you can add that as a filter.
Okay.
So, and you can see the before and after to just make sure that your gamma should, at least in the Apple ecosystem, as Philip says, it should all look the same.
So Logic Pro
You
11. Go ahead, Phil. Sorry.
I was just going to say there's the difference between theory and practice. I mean, in theory it should work, but the difference is that that's the difference between theory and practice. In theory it will work.
Yeah.
But in practice.
Right, exactly. So yesterday we saw a Logic Pro 11.1 came out during the Creative Summit when we got Final Cut Pro 11. So 11.1 came out. And Logic Pro got their first bug fix, 11.1.1, yesterday on a Monday, which is an odd day. I don't track Logic updates. I don't know what day of the week. Final Cut Pro, typically, the most common day is Thursday. The second most common is Tuesday and Monday. They're almost tied. That's all updates across the board, not just major updates, bug fix updates, etc. But Thursday's the most common day. So if we don't get it today, I would say we're going to get it Thursday, but certainly we're going to get a bug fix before they go on Christmas. Damn you, Final Cut Pro team, get that. Don't go on Christmas vacation without giving us a bug fix. There's too many little bugs.
Could be as late as 6 o'clock on Friday then.
Well, it could be, but last year we got 10.7 on November the 30th, I think it was, and we got a bug fix before they went on vacation, 10.7.1. So based on that, based on the fact that Logic put out their bug fix, I'm saying we're going to see 11.0.1 bug fix before Christmas vacation, which is the rest of this week. But if not today, I was kind of thinking it was going to be today because Logic came out yesterday. As soon as they said Logic, I went and checked, and sure enough, it was. I said, where's Final Cut? And a lot of times they do them together, but they didn't yesterday. So we'll see if it comes out today or not. I'm monitoring.
Monday and Tuesday?
No, they'll be on vacation next week. Everybody goes away. They close that Apple Park down, wash all the windows and everything. So I think Tim Cook might stay there, but the rest everybody else goes home. So it was.
Well, they just shut Cook off and put him in the closet.
Well, that's true. What were you saying, Serena?
No, I was saying Tim Cook's just waiting for Bradley's call before he leaves for vacation.
Oh, that's true. No, I just get order to power him down.
Well, Brad actually lives at Apple Park now. He camped out there. He did a squatters thing, and he lives there. So
right under the rainbow.
They can't get right under the rainbow. They can't get rid of him. It's the way California is. They can't get rid of him unless somebody important's coming to town. Then they'll get rid of everything, clean up everything. But normally.
Yeah,
so what is this?
Never left that theater.
Right.
So when is Apple going to make it possible to pan around the viewer when zoomed in on a clip? Click the little red box seems a little old now. Wish they would make it possible somehow. Drives me crazy. Well, you can if you zoom in enough, right? You can move around the viewer.
I think you're saying when you're the viewer, you have to use that little box in the corner rather than.
Oh, I see what you mean. Well, maybe somebody can tell me this because you people are all very smart with motion and behind the, FCP XML and all that. I'm so used to when I edit a graphic.
Sorry.
I used to select something in a viewer and then use the arrow keys to move the graphic around 1 pixel at a time. I mean, that's kind of standard, but in the viewer, in Final Cut, you can't do that, right?
Use the hand tool.
Sorry. We're talking about two different things. It is pointed out in the comments that by Gabriel and Nathan, that if you activate the hand tool, you can actually drag around on the viewer. As far as what you're talking about, Richard, I think
I'm going to move it 1 pixel at a time. One, left, right, 1 pixel, up, down, 1 pixel. So like Pixelmator Pro. Okay, you select the image, whatever layer you're on, hit the up and down, left and right arrow keys, and you can move it 1 pixel at a time. Same with Ecamm Live. It seems to be a standard, but in Final Cut, you can't. You can't move it 1 pixel at a time with the keyboard shortcut. At least I don't know of one.
I'm going to test.
Are we talking about? I think we're talking about two different things here. I'm getting confused anyway.
We are.
One is that Richard's talking about nudging, like moving actually a layer within. Whereas I thought we were talking about the viewer and just changing the area that was being viewed in the viewer.
Yeah. I switched subjects. Let's talk about this. No, Bradley said, tell what you talked about, Bradley, how to take care of that.
Yeah, if you're zoomed in on the viewer, and you don't want to use the little red box, just change to the hand tool by hitting H, and then you can move around anywhere, like wherever you click in the viewer. As far as what you're talking about, Richard, as far as nudging titles around, I think the problem is that the at least the up and down arrows are meant for like going back and forth frame by frame.
So that's why what about option up and down arrows? What about option up and down, option left and right then? I mean, can you tell me how to select something in the viewer and move it 1 pixel at a time with the keyboard shortcut? In Final Cut, you can't do it, right?
No. I mean, you can type in amounts, but I don't know. Oh, yeah. If you select the box in... if you select the box on the transform, like inspector under transform, you can move them pixel by pixel, but you'd have to select X and then you have to select Y separately, I think.
How do you move it pixel by pixel?
You just click in the box in the inspector and then you just move it up and down. If that makes sense.
Oh, you mean you drag it up and down in the numerical box?
No. You can actually use your arrow keys to go up and down, and then it'll move pixel by pixel.
Huh. Okay.
You just have to click. So click X clicks into Y. It's not as convenient as you're right. If a graphics application,
direct manipulation, exactly.
Yep.
And if you hold, is it Command while you're dragging in that box? It's Option.
Option is the lower. Gears it down.
Yeah, real
No, I know that, but I want to just do it with a keyboard shortcut. I don't want to be dragging. I want to do keyboard shortcut. So you're saying if we click in the box, Brad, then use the arrow keys, it'll go 1 pixel at a time, X and Y separate. Yep. Okay, well that works. So I didn't even know that. It's been frustrating. The other thing is, I don't know if there's ever going to be remedy, but the idea of clicking in the viewer and selecting the layer that you want rather than going to the timeline and clicking and selecting the layer you want. Same with like Pixelmator Pro. I just click on the object and it becomes selected.
You have the option
Ecamm Live. There's what? What'd you say?
In Pixelmator, there's an option to auto select or to select by layer.
Right. I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's because the canvas view is not really a segmented view. It's a composite view of what you see looking down from the top of the timeline, and so we don't actually have the concept of these are on this and that and this layer. It's like a flattened view of what the timeline shows you in layers. And that's where it's different from Photoshop and Pixelmator Pro.
I see. I figured it was. I mean, it's been that way for so long. I figured that was there's a reason, but it's just, so I didn't know what Bradley said. You click in the box and you can then go up and down one with the up and down, left and right arrow keys. Yeah. What about left and right? No. That would be X up and down arrow
X
keys.
And Y. It's X and Y. Yeah. So X would be up, left and right. But you're still using the left and right keys. It's just the up and down keys, depending on X or Y.
That's still better than what I didn't know you could even do that. I just like using the arrow keys a lot of times to align things.
Are you getting latency when you do that? Because when I do it, it seems to take a while for it to react and then move it.
Does it?
You guys having that problem? Yeah, I don't know why.
I haven't tried it. I'm not trying it live.
I was doing it. It seemed responsive, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just. When I'm in a project and I'm moving things around, it seems to take a little while. I'm just impatient.
Well, the thing about like what Gabriel says, using a hand tool, which Bradley already mentioned, I don't want to drag it around.
No.
I'm going to use keyboard shortcuts for one for one pixel at a time. If I want to do a massive move, I'll drag it. But I want to, the keyboard. I'm so used to it. All the other applications, you just click on the thing, and then when it's selected, you use the key, you left and right, up and down, move it any way you want it. So that's what I'm used to, and that's okay. If I can click in the box and move it that way, that would be fine. So we have mentioned an issue with magnetic mask on Intel. It's the 50% opacity. Yes, I've heard about that. When adding background, you have to double up the clip to make it 100%. But listen, Tim Cook told you get rid of those Intel machines. Hasn't he told you enough times now? Get rid of those Intel machines. They're from 2019 or earlier. Give Tim some money. Tim needs money. Buy a new
Yeah, I thought magnetic mask would be one of those Apple Intelligence silicon-only features, so I'm surprised it even works on Intel. But
only 50%. It's only 50% it works. So if you want it to work 100%, you got to get an M1 Mac. So I bought. When those new MacBook Pros came out, I said I get one. So I went and traded mine in on the purchase price, and it brought the price down to the one I wanted to like $4,500 or something. I said, that's fine. So I ordered it. Then I thought about it, and I said, I don't want to trade in my MacBook Pro. I have an M1 Max, and I just absolutely love this thing. So then I went back and reconfigured the price, taking this M1 Max off the price. It was over $6,000 for the M1 MacBook Pro, M1 Max MacBook Pro, the M4. I said, ain't no way. So I went and got a Mac Mini. I got a Mac Mini Pro. I love it. I've never had a Mac Mini. This thing is so tiny, and it's just incredible. Like right now, I'm using. It's getting a little bit warm because we got all these streams coming in and everything, but I really, really like it. I mean, I was amazed at how good this thing is doing. Plus, it's got Thunderbolt 5, and I got one of those new OWC Thunderbolt 5 thanks to this lady right here. She got me 15% off with an OWC coupon code. You got one too?
Yeah,
Did you
I
Philip bought
bought a
some
new
stuff too.
Thunder Bay. I thought I needed a backup for my backup, so I bought a Thunder Bay.
Absolutely. So
you guys, if you want to buy more stuff, you can still go to OWC Radio and use that code.
Oh, you can? I wasn't sure if that was available still.
Well, I'll tell our listeners the code is OWC Radio 24, but there's a special link. It's a backdoor into Mac Sales, so it's not the regular login. It's a special backdoor. But if you go to OWC Radio, you'll get it.
Excellent. Yeah. So 15%. Cool. So I got the 4 terabyte Thunderbolt 5 external SSD, and instead it's $599. I got it for like $90 some off. So I got it for like $500. So that was a clincher. And then I'm glad I ordered it because now they're back ordered till the end of January. They sold out of their first batch. And this thing gets 500 megabytes per second read and write. I mean 5,000 megabytes. 5,000 megabytes per second read and write, with the speed test. I was absolutely flabbergasted, but it is Thunderbolt 5, and it is very, very fast. It's not quite as fast as the Mac Mini SSD, which is like 7,000 one of the parameters is 7,000 megabytes per second read and write. So
Wow.
I got the 2 terabyte
Richard,
version.
you'll
Go
be
ahead.
happy to know, Richard, the Mac Pro is ready to be boxed and shipped out. Finally.
Excellent.
Finally, yeah.
Did you get a good price?
Yeah, I got almost $2,200 for it. It's the Intel based 2019. That's
Right.
pretty good.
Good. It is good in 2024. It absolutely is.
Yeah, I think Apple
I
was
saw-
offering me under $700 for it. So.
Exactly. When I went to do my Mac
They're
Pro originally,
trading
they
to-
were offering. Yeah.
They're
I had
trading
one
to-
Mac for sale, MacBook Pro for sale if anyone wants one. I upgraded to an M4 myself this last couple of I've got new watch, new phone, new MacBook Pro.
Merry
It was a great
Christmas.
birthday.
Absolutely.
Merry Christmas
So-
and happy birthday.
Nice.
Absolutely. So I got a new 16-inch, the new iPhone 16 Pro Max. I got the Mac Mini Pro, the top of the line except for the SSDs. It's ridiculous. The price, the amount of money they want for SSDs. I got the 2 terabyte because I knew I was getting this 4 terabyte Thunderbolt 5. To go from 2 terabytes to 4 terabytes, which is a difference of 2 terabytes, they wanted $600. The 2 terabyte was already locked in. To go to 4 terabyte, they wanted $600 to go 2 terabytes. And then, of course, forget about 8 terabytes. They wanted a second mortgage on my house. I said, that ain't going to happen. So it's ridiculous.
Well, you guys are buying. I'm selling. I have the fever now that I got the good price on that Mac Pro. I'm looking around. I'm going to sell everything I'm not using.
Well, I do that.
Yeah.
I do that fairly regularly.
You know what I
Yeah.
realized?
I'll wait until mine are vintage.
Yeah. Well,
OWC
I don't know
will buy
about you
my
guys.
RAM, I think.
My
They will.
garage
They
and
will
my
buy it.
storage has, yeah. Sell Your Mac will buy whatever you've got, even peripherals. They'll buy peripherals. They'll buy computers. I love it. So I'm going to take all the money I'm making selling stuff, and I'm going to get myself the new Mac Studio.
Nice. Well,
The
wait
new
for
Mac Studio?
No,
There's no new Mac
more.
Studio.
No, the Mac
There will
Mini. I
be-
mean,
Oh,
Mac
Oh,
Mini.
Mac Mini.
Sorry. Yeah, the Mac Mini.
yeah. Get the Pro.
So I
Get the Pro. Don't get the base model.
Right.
It's-
I
Yeah.
have similar one as you, Richard. I think I went for 48 gigs of RAM instead of 64. I think that's the only difference between our two models.
Yeah.
But it's insanely fast. The benchmarks, I did some Blackmagic like 8K speed tests on it,
right.
and the benchmarks are that of a M2, like I think it's M2 Ultra, is what the M4 Pro does. And then on the GPU side, it was matching my M1 Max for the metal bench scores. So
Wow.
for a machine that was much cheaper and just very compact. I showed it to my 6-year-old and she said, "That's not a computer." I'm like, "It's
Right.
a computer." She's like, "No, it's not."
It's a
So she's picturing the monitor and
tiniest.
keyboard and
It's just a tiny. It's like five square inches and a couple inches high, inch and a half high. It's incredible, and it doesn't. Mine gets warm right now. It's 186 degrees, 184. I'm monitoring it. I can't even hear the fans if they're on. I can't even hear them. So. But I'm very pleased with
Wow.
it. Everything seems to be working well. Final Cut Pro 11, except for a couple little things, has been working very, very well. So when we went to the Creative Summit, now, Philip, I've talked to you before. I think I've said last year that you went to Apple Park, and you said, no, you've only been to the Developer Center last year.
No, last year up until that point in time, we hadn't been on campus to Apple Park until last year. This
Right.
one was the second year, yeah.
But I'm
Before
talking about
that, we
you
got-
as a developer. I think I've mentioned, I said, well, I guess you've been to Apple Park last year. I said,
No.
many times. You said, no, you've only been to the Developer Center. Well, hey, I've been to the Developer Center too now. We got to it.
Yeah,
we got to it
yeah.
at the Creative Summit.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was
It's
that
beautiful.
close.
Yeah, yeah. I think the time we were at the Apple store a couple of years ago when we got I guess that was pre-2019 or something like that. At that point in time, they were working on the foundations of what became the Developer Center.
Okay. But yeah, so we walked. Listen. this was absolutely the best presentation the Final Cut Pro team has ever given us at the summit. It was hands down.
I heard. Yeah.
Was the best because the theater is beautiful. The theater is absolutely beautiful. It's like I was expecting at the end Steve Jobs to come walking out, a hologram or whatever, and say one more thing. It was just gorgeous. It was just absolutely gorgeous.
There absolutely should be a hologram Steve saying one more thing. There should be that.
There should.
Absolutely.
Bradley, will you tell him that next time you see him?
Yeah,
Tim.
I'll let Tim know.
So they gave us a presentation.
At lunch.
Here's one of the things that I thought I was thinking, they did a lot of presentation for Logic Pro at the beginning. I mean, a very, very long one. And it was all music related, which that's what the application is. It's a music app. And I'm looking around and thinking, how many of these people really know about drummers and keyboard players and reverbs and stuff and really care about it, considering we're Final Cut Pro people, most of us. And I was kind of surprised they spent so much time on Logic because they really did it, preemptively. I mean, at the beginning, not preemptively, but at the very beginning. And then they got into other things. And then at the very end...
Most people, I was going to say, most people who edit have some musical thing going on the side. They play an instrument, they sing, they play drums. Yeah. It's almost everybody that I know that is an editor has something musically going on in their life. So maybe, but I thought it was a little out of balance for the audience.
I thought it was just, I like Logic and I use it as a musician and a recording studio. It's been my base for years, so I really liked it. But I'm looking around saying, how many people really care about, modeling of a reverb that's like 20 or 30 years old? I mean, I don't know how many of them really care about that. It's really, really good, though. I'm not saying it's bad. But the cool thing was Bill Davis, he did the presentation of Final Cut Pro. And at the end, he did his, one more thing. B-RAW support can now happen in Final Cut Pro. Because people have been talking about that for years and years and years. I guess he said it's now possible with the extensions or the media extensions in Sonoma. Is that what it is?
There is a new media framework that allows third-party developers to effectively do what anybody could do in QuickTime, and that is add a new codec or add a new codec to the AV Foundation architecture. Now, in the QuickTime days, anybody could do that just by downloading a component, a codec, and putting it into the appropriate place on the OS. But now it's been locked off for the longest time. Now that's opened up again. It was previewed a year or two ago. It was actually supposed to be in a much earlier OS, but it never actually shipped. It was previewed at a dub conference, but then never actually shipped. And now it came back this year, which has enabled the action to start happening towards the end of the year.
Okay, so they singled out B-RAW, Bill, because they've heard. I mean, I hear it all the time, no matter where I go. When are we getting B-RAW? I don't know. I don't know what the deal is there. But now he singled out B-RAW as did he say it's coming or it's just a possibility? I missed that part.
He actually said that Blackmagic were actively working on it using this new media framework.
Excellent.
But as I've always said, it's actually been back onto Blackmagic to do it. But there's been no easy way to do that, and in the past, so people like Red and Ari and everybody has had to write components, specific closed components that go into Final Cut only. The big advantage of this approach is that those codecs will become available to third-party apps as well, because Red and Ari RAW, all those RAW formats are only available inside Final Cut. So if you want to go and work in say Builder or something else, you have to work with a proxy workflow. Now that we can add them directly into AV Foundation, that means that every other app built on AV Foundation, like Builder, will be able to run B-RAW natively without having to have a plugin.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic because that's been. I don't use B-RAW. I know Brad does, but I don't use it. I don't record it, and so. But when we hear this so much from people, B-RAW, It's important, and I want it to be implemented. Now it seems like it is being implemented. That'd be great. Do you shoot in B-RAW, Serena?
Yeah, I do.
Do you?
I do. Yeah.
So you like
better
it?
quality. I love it. I think it's better quality. Bradley, do you agree?
I think it's good. The thing is, Blackmagic, I think, is forcing us over to it. There's a lot, like for cinematherapy, for example, that I helped shoot. There's no reason for us to shoot in B-RAW other than the fact that I like to use the ATEM to control everything and to start and stop the cameras, label everything. And because it's plugged into the ATEM, for some reason, some genius engineer at Blackmagic decided that they would literally gray out the options to shoot ProRes. So that I don't understand that limitation or why they just blank it out on the camera when you're plugged into the ATEM. But that means that if I want all the ease of making the production go easier, then we have to counterbalance that with transcoding to 4K ProRes like we just do ProRes 4K LT afterwards. So I'm looking forward to eliminating that step. That being said, we've got these Mac Studios and MacBook Pros with M1, M2 architecture now that are so fast that transcoding 6K B-RAW to 4K ProRes is really not the lift that it used to be on an Intel machine. It's pretty quick,
right?
Yeah.
And in fact, we did do a short film shoot last month just before the summit, and I'm working with Alan Seawright on editing that. And we're editing in Final Cut. I just transcoded everything to 4K ProRes proxy for editing, so I still get like 4K resolution, and it's actually looks pretty good. And I'm going to online back in Resolve with the 6K B-RAW that we shot, which I was planning to do color correction in Resolve anyway, so that's really not that big of a deal in that workflow example. And the proxy files are so small I can store them on my internal computer, just edit from wherever. So
that matches our workflow.
Yeah, I don't see it as like it's not been a huge pain. Like I've gotten used to the pain, but I would love for that. Anything that can get that out of the way. And I'll probably still make proxy files for the road anyway. But the fact that I can quickly switch to the B-RAW and I could see, what does it look like in 6K and is this going to be a problem? What's the focus like? Because the more resolution you can definitely see more problems.
Right.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm hoping our film will be shown on the big screen. So that's why B-RAW seems to be the best way to go for us. Just get more latitude.
Well, and ironically, 2K projection in the theater looks great. So it's more, I think, the color, the RAW and the color that's going to benefit you. Yeah. The resolution. Yeah. I've seen 2K and 4K projection in a theater, and I can't tell you the difference. It doesn't. But when the picture's that far away from you and that big, ironically, the resolution doesn't matter as much compared to a monitor that I'm sitting like a foot away from. That's 4K. I can definitely see on a monitor the difference, but I can't in projection.
But I think the colorist appreciates. I think the colorists appreciate B-RAW. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it'll look better.
This is interesting. Nathan says if you hold Option while pressing up and down arrows, it moves in tenths of a pixel. That doesn't seem right. A pixel is pretty small to begin with.
Is that for real? Yeah. Really, Nathan? Is that true?
Tenths of a pixel? I mean, that seems like it's too small. A pixel is plenty small enough
holding
for me.
Option.
When using the up and down arrows in the inspector.
He's using percentages, not absolute pixel count. So maybe 1/10% does not necessarily equate to finer than 1 pixel.
Yeah, that's a 1/10 of a pixel would be too small. I couldn't even see that. It must be.
I don't even think it's possible.
I was going to say that.
It's moving at 1/10 of a pixel.
It's possible.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's possible to move in some pixels.
Look what we've learned today. Tenths of a pixel? That's the tiniest little thing I've ever heard of. So
we already talked about that, though.
That's too small. I don't want to. I want to move pixel at a time. Pixel's fine. And then I know you can gear down when you're dragging on those boxes with the option key. I know it gears it down, but I didn't know you could hold option and hit the arrow keys and do a tenth of a pixel. That seems incredibly microscopic. And we know the shift key does 10.
It's the same function though. It's the same function. You're either going arrows or dragging.
Right, and if you're doing like, I'd say more like visual effects type of works, then subpixels make a difference.
Oh, the other thing of dragging in the viewer. The other thing of dragging in the viewer, as Gabriel said, is snapping. Please, to align things, let me snap two objects together.
Yeah, they only have snapping for
Center.
Final Cut for center, and for horizontal and vertical centers. And that's something that I think Jen Jager recently did a video about or said something about, which is we want rulers.
Yes.
It would be nice to be able to turn on rulers in Final Cut. Honestly, in motion, I do like in credit crawls in motion, and it makes a huge difference having those rulers.
Absolutely. And we had it in classic Final Cut Pro. We had rulers, didn't we? I seem to remember rulers in classic Final Cut Pro.
I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't remember them.
So, you're not that old.
Okay, who here has their Final Cut, their first?
All right, then.
Final
I
Cut
don't remember
box?
them either. I'm older than you all, so I don't remember them.
You don't remember
No, you're
them?
not.
No,
I don't remember them either.
I remember some kind of, maybe I'm misremembering. I know we had a mixing board in classic Final Cut Pro. We had a mixing board, and you could adjust, you could use adjust keyframes as the thing was playing with the mixing board by dragging the sliders up and down, and it would actually record keyframes. And you had 3 different levels: minimal, medium, and maximum. There you go.
There you go.
Fire that up, Brad. Fire that up.
I got that.
But that's not the first one. The first one.
That's
was
not the
white.
first one.
Yeah.
I've
got the first one in mine's in storage.
This is my first one.
I got
So I had
both.
Express.
Look at this.
Mine did not survive past the first move of house.
This is the first MacBook Pro, and if it starts up, I have both Final Cut Pro 7.0.3 and Final Cut Pro 10.0. But I think the battery's probably worn down. I haven't started it up for a while. I was going to look it up, but I have both of those on here. Remember those days when we had to run both?
Yep. So take that to sell your Mac and get some money for it, Richard.
No, I'm keeping that. That's too valuable to me. I'm keeping that. I have a Power PC Mac tower downstairs too.
Yeah, me too. Somebody stole my. Remember the old Apples where 256 megs was huge. Somebody stole mine, but yeah, I tend to keep my computers, which I'm going to stop doing. Philip, you've been a really good inspiration to me because you don't keep anything. You and Greg have the neatest house, minimalist. You don't keep a lot of stuff, and I don't know.
Keeping even less stuff going forward.
I know. I'm too
looking back
sentimental.
on
I can't get rid of stuff.
I got 2 desktops, a pile of laptops back there, and an Atari 600 XL.
There you go.
It still works.
Yeah, Nathan's just the thing that you just put up is exactly what we're talking about with adding the third-party extensions to Media Framework.
Yeah,
that's exactly what we were talking about.
And it requires Sequoia. I was just pleasantly surprised that Bill Davis singled out BRAW for that. That was really, really good. At the end, at the very end.
I was sitting next to Chris Hawking when they announced that.
Not awesome news for Chris. Not awesome news for Chris.
I kind of looked over to see, I think maybe a little tear coming down his eye. I'm not sure. He was trying to keep his composure.
No,
Yeah,
I understand.
We've been Sherlocked a couple of times. I mean, we had Event Manager 10, which of course libraries made that obsolete. It's like it's only because the product keeps getting better, because Final Cut gets better. The workarounds that we were implementing um, don't become necessary anymore. It's just, I think that's the nature and the life of a third party developer. You find an opportunity, you provide that functionality. Eventually, the primary app will likely subsume that functionality and add it to it, and that's great. I mean, that's what takes us all forward. The small developers then find another niche where we can add some value.
Well, the magnetic mask is much more sophisticated than I thought it was going to be. And that didn't Motion VFX just start a subscription or something for their magnetic mask plugin or something?
I think that's in the middle of their subscription bundle. So if you don't subscribe to the bundle, yeah. Of course, they also released an M Captions plugin just shortly before we had transcribed the captions. Theirs supports a lot more languages. It supports word by word. So there are still advantages to using that. But
wait a minute.
Exceptionally to timing.
You can. Well, this is the next question. We just had this. Philip can answer this. Why do you think the closed captions cannot be spliced like 2 to 3 words? Seems it will not split a sentence very far down. It doesn't. It does complete sentences right now. It doesn't limit. That's probably a caption thing, right? Caption requirement.
Yeah, captions are limited. Well, you would think that there would be caption standards, but we were looking at another project a year or two ago that never went anywhere. But Greg looked deeply into, what are the standards for captions? How many characters make up a line? When do you split it? And there's not clear standards anywhere. We looked at the BBC published what we want standards and used that as a guideline. And that's about 47, 48 characters per line, no more than 2 lines. But that's quite a lot. And so Greg also decided that he wanted to split it by on phrases. So, there's a framework within Apple's OS that allows you to actually break up natural language into sensible phrases, sentences, and the like. Where a comma should go, we can actually break it up. And then we never actually used that. We never finished that app, but we've reused that technology, that work, into builders' closed captions. It would require a much smarter speech-to-text model, so that they could parse it down. But it really would require another pass after you've got the basic speech-to-text to then go through and look at and examine all of the actual captions and see which ones need to be split up and which ones don't. And clearly, the better benefit from that feature is to get it into everybody's hands so they can do transcribe to captions.
Right.
Transcribe to captions is better than transcribe to perfect captions that you cannot ever get.
Right. So when I use up to this point, I've been using Blackmagic Resolve for all captioning because it's built into the studio. It's no additional charges. But they're not doing captions. They're doing subtitles. They do a transcription, a general transcription pass, but you can limit the character length and the amount of lines, because the only time I want to do on-screen captions is more the TikTok style, just quick words come on and off, not the full. I don't want full sentences typically. I don't mind doing a caption for if it has to be captioned for somebody that they can control it themselves. But as far as printing them on the screen, I want short. I usually limit 14 characters in one line so it goes quickly. That's what I like to do. Tell me, can you with your plugin, can you limit the character length from Apple's captions or not, independent of Apple?
We could, and I feel like I want to check with Greg, because I have a feeling that we actually did come across this and we did implement something to make sure that the titles didn't go too long. But I would have to check back with Greg, and if we haven't, that would certainly be an easy enough feature to add to it.
I'd love that. That would make it so much better, more efficient. As a matter of fact, while we're talking, let's Let me bring this up. Look at that, Philip. So my caption for this was Philip's explaining Caption Animator to Michael Roper, and Brad and Greg are talking about donuts in the background. It's just because I couldn't tell what they were talking about. But let me see, where was it?
There's a good chance they were talking about those donuts.
Well, Brad, listen, Brad gets absolutely.
They're amazing.
They were absolutely.
They were awesome.
They were absolutely amazing. I came downstairs from my hotel room, and Brad, I went over to talk to Brad for a second. He said, "You got to get some of those donuts." He had like 3 boxes. Was it 3 boxes?
Two boxes.
Yeah, it was a bunch of boxes, and of these fantastic donuts. Now the problem is, Brad, next year, okay, you've set the standard. You can't go back to 7-Eleven donuts. Was it 4 boxes? Well, you probably took one yourself.
4 next year.
Oh, 4 boxes. No, just the quality.
4 boxes. Huh?
Just it was the quality.
Well, they're Stan's Donuts. They make them fresh right in front of you, and it's in Homestead. So if you're ever in the Apple area, it's just down the street from Apple Park. You just drive east a little bit on Homestead, and they are definitely. We've done extensive searches. Me and some people have done some extensive search for the best donuts in that area. Hands down, Stan's Donuts is the best.
Yeah, I never heard of them until I tried one of those. And the thing was, when you said, "Grad, you got to get one of these," and I touched it, and it was still warm. It was still warm. Yeah. It wasn't even out of the oven for very long. And boy, that thing was fantastic. Now, if I ate those all the time, I'd be 400 pounds, so I wouldn't do that. They were great. But anyway, next year, please, I don't care about the amount. I just like the quality of them. First comes, first serve. If people don't get them, that's their problem. Get out of bed.
Right.
So Nathan said, I was hoping for a more text-based editing approach like Premiere does very well. So the idea with Philip's plugin, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for Philip's plugin. So the idea is you do a template before you use Philip's plugin. You find the style that you want, you text that you want, the color, the positioning, and you make one of those, make a title of that. Then you take the project and drag it over to Philip's extension, and you can select that as your template for creating. Are they titles, subtitles? Either, I'm not sure which they are.
Well, there's no standard language, as we have discovered.
Exactly.
Captions are a very specific thing, but and they are not visible until you get to the display device, and that confuses a lot of people, and I understand why it's confusing. But then there's a lot of uses where we actually want to see those titles and have them burned into the video, and then that language is it a title? Is it a subtitle? Where did you grow up? Where did you first enter the industry? And what did they say around you at that point in time?
Exactly.
But the idea is to take these captions, which are, guess what, metadata. They're not actually image data. They're just simply metadata. And I don't know a lot about the different, Matthew. I don't know a lot about the different formats. The ITT, the iTunes Time Text version, is the only one that you can actually format and apply a format to. But that is not widely accepted outside Apple's own infrastructure. You can take it to YouTube and they will ignore the formatting anyway. So pretty much captions cannot be formatted. They are displayed in the displaying device, whether that's on screen, on a computer screen or an actual television. They're just metadata that's carried along with the signal. What we do is take that essentially text information still, but just move it into the title as a template. It's really add a title, open the caption, copy the material out, add a title for the same generation, open the title, paste the content into that title, repeat for every caption down your timeline. And so it's not super clever. It's not using artificial intelligence or anything like that. It's just automating a task that you could do manually, but it would be very, very, very tedious.
Now, Philip, you don't have to acknowledge what I'm about to say, but it sure seemed like you had that Caption Animator at exactly at the right time. Like you had some kind of precognition that there was going to be transcribed to captions because it just fit like perfectly, and plus the language as well. The second plugin that you had. You don't have to say anything.
Never, of course, you can never confirm nor deny.
I will neither confirm nor deny
my involvement in an Apple beta. But yes, the timing was very fortuitous. Actually, the idea was first suggested to us by Jeff Greenberg at a creative summit, perhaps about 2019, 2020, shortly after captions were introduced to Final Cut in their first form. Caption Animator, we actually had a lot longer lead time on that. We actually were able to give it to some people ahead of time, about a month before we actually got to the conference, and we were very grateful that people like Steve Martin and Ian Anderson were able to include that in their demos, and we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So Caption Translator honestly came together in the last 2 weeks before the Creative Summit. We were just like, again, an idea that Robin Kurtz had suggested to us 2 years earlier, using Whisper, but we determined that Whisper was not reliable enough in translation, which was never claimed that it could do. We just found that it would do a decent job a lot of the time. And so we rejected that. We did a lot of work on it, then rejected it. But again, it just seemed like with this new framework that is in Mac OS Sequoia, the translation frameworks were of high quality, and we decided that it was, again, something that we could do fairly quickly and add value to what Apple was doing with the transcribe to captions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me pull this up here. I have this there's Brad with his donuts. Wait a minute, where is my
just while you're pulling that up, I will point out that you're not limited to one template in Caption Animator. You could put 2 or 3 or 4 different titles in there with subtle variations, or the same title with variations in the way it's displayed, and we will cycle through that so you can get a little bit more dynamic text for your TikTok style social media.
Let me see, where in the heck is that?
Richard, I'm trying to refresh the App Store, and I'm still not seeing this update you promised us.
I know. Well, I did say today or this week. I did leave myself that out because if you remember the last time, I'm doing the same thing. If you remember on the birthday of Final Cut Pro, we were on exactly the time they released 10.8.
Yeah, that was
we were on the air exactly at 1 o'clock. They released it, so I think they heard me talking about it, and the team said, we're not giving them that today. We're going to pull it back and hold it till Thursday. Thursday would be the next time that I think we should see it. It could be Wednesday. They do it on Wednesday sometimes. Not Fridays, not Saturdays, not Sundays for Final Cut Pro. It's so hard not to say Final Cut Pro 10. It's so hard.
It is, isn't it?
After all these years, no, 10's back there, and 11 is going forward. Apple even said this is a new chapter in Final Cut Pro.
It took long enough to quit saying X.
Exactly. Well, that's true.
Yeah,
but we have so many apps that have X in their name. Sync and Link X is still one of our apps. It's like not that easy for us to drop it. We could, I guess, but then I think we may be moving towards a time for a Sync and Link 2 Electric Blue. That's one of the great things that came out of the conference is the opportunity to talk to people like Apple and realize that they also had a need for integrating linear timecode. Yay, old days, come back again.
Yeah.
But linear timecode, Technical Sync has done, and others have done a great job of reintroducing linear timecode to the extent that Premiere Pro is adding native support to that in future release, or adding it back in. They had taken it out years ago. And so, we're actively exploring adding a linear timecode to a future version of Sync and Link. But it's also time for Sync and Link to kind of get revisited again, because it's a 12-year-old app and everything moves on.
It does. Everything absolutely does move on. I mean, if you remember the question that I asked at the Q&A, and I was being somewhat facetious, and I said that, originally Apple said that there's a 10-year roadmap for Final Cut Pro 10. X years ago. It asked the 13 and a half years. And I said, is there a similar roadmap for Final Cut Pro 11 or are we going to see Final Cut Pro 12 in 6 months? That was my question. Now, I have not been able to pin down that quote. I think it's Richard Townhill, Brad, that gave the quote, not that said the 10-year roadmap, not because I think somebody said it was Richard Townhill, not who was it at the Creator Summit on the panel? That Peter Stenauer. He said, did I say that? And the person next to me from Apple said, yes, you did. I didn't say he said that. It's just Apple said that 10-year roadmap. I have to find, I can't find the quote. Now, here's the thing. Here's the odd thing. I did find.
If only you could take that video and then you could have it auto-transcribe in some sort of tool and then search the text. Maybe Philip knows something about that.
No, only we had the technology.
Here's what I did. I did this. This is perplexity.ai. It says Apple initially referred to a 10-year roadmap for Final Cut Pro 10. When it was launched in 2011, this statement indicated long-term vision, et cetera, et cetera. It says it was discussed multiple times, but I didn't get the actual source of the quote.
So this have to watch.
I believe it was Richard Townhill, and I believe it was on the
announcement.
I believe it was Richard Townhill, and it was at the NAB Super Meet preview of Final Cut Pro 10.
Yeah.
I've transcribed that, and I can't get, roadmap doesn't come up in the transcription. I transcribed that. I remember it in an article, specifically, this is a 10-year, just loosely. I mean, nobody cares if it's 13 and a half years versus 10 years. I mean, but I'm just curious.
I think the quote was more, and again, I'll look it up for you, Richard. I've got a video of the whole thing. I think it was more like Final Cut 7 had 10 years of development. This is the next 10 years of this is the next 10 years. It wasn't.
I remember
this is a foundation for the next 10 years.
The foundation for the next 10 years.
That's what it was, foundation. Yeah. So I listened, Brad. I went back and transcribed off the tracks. I couldn't find it in there. I transcribed the entire presentation at the Super Meet. I can't. Well, I was looking for a roadmap, I think, so maybe that was the problem. Maybe that was the problem.
For the next 10 years.
Foundation.
And when they said it, I always saw it as just comparing the old to the new. Like because Final Cut, Final Cut Classic, really, I know that it was out for 12 years ish or whatever, but it really had 10 years of work.
Oh, yeah. Final Cut Classic, that's correct.
1999 to 2011 is 12.
Yeah.
And it really had about a decade or so of work on it. So I think that was just saying, look, this is the previous decades. This is the way forward. But I don't think anybody intended that to be a hold to a on 10 years we're going to kill this thing. And
my point was that since Apple did say that initially, I was just curious if they had a similar vision for 11. Do they think 11 is going to be 10 years? 11.1 next year at the Creator Summit, for example. So every year we get plus or minus a point, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 for about 10 years. I'm not trying to hold them to that. I was just curious if they have a similar roadmap for 11, because remember last year, I asked the question about the aperture thing that people were asking about. Remember? And they said, not only do we have plans for Final Cut Pro for the next 6 months, we have plans for Final Cut Pro for the next 3, 4, 5 years or 6 years. They said that last year. So once again, that's kind of a roadmap for what they're planning. And that's all I was trying to do, is trying to see if they have a similar one for 11. If they thought of it as...
I don't think there's ever a roadmap over a long period of time. Basically, I think that they work, what is the next release going to... Of all these features that we could potentially develop, which ones are going to add the most value to the most users, not necessarily the users that I care about, but the most users of Apple,
Sure.
And which ones can we develop? Because it's at least a 2-year development process from the day that the design team or the team decides we are going to implement this function in Final Cut Pro 11.5. It's going to be at least 2 years before that function is released, sometimes 3, and that's pretty much across the board with almost anyone, all the companies. They take a fairly long development cycle to get it right. There's a process of design, then there's a process of engineering. There's a team that looks and see how it actually works in workflows, test it inside a workflow, see if it works. And we've seen many examples where features have appeared into a beta and then not made it to a release for years. I mean, scrolling timeline was present in an unreleased version of Final Cut many years ago and then was pulled before the release because they will pull a feature rather than ship it imperfectly. And not to slur anyone in particular, but I think other manufacturers may rely more on feedback for final testing from their user base than Apple does. Is that a nice way to say they pay attention?
Right.
And of course, in fairness, they have to maintain multiple code bases. They have to maintain a cross-platform code base, which is always going to be more complex than focusing on just one platform, like the Pro Apps team gets to do. They only have to make it work on a Mac, and there's a lot of frameworks and everything that you can rely on to take a lot of the burden off the actual app developer. Thank you. We take advantage of them all the time. And so, it is inevitable that a team that is trying to engineer for multiple platforms are going to have more issues arise across multiple platforms than somebody who is only developing for a single target platform.
Right. So, Brett, I think you were pretty excited about this magnetic mask because of one of your plugins.
Oh, what, Outliner?
Yeah. You mentioned it. We were talking about it.
It certainly makes it more useful, yeah.
So tell me the process. You have to do the magnetic mask of your subject and then keep it as an alpha?
Outliner will put an outline around anything that has a transparency. So like an alpha channel or, so text or, certainly if you cut something out with the mask. You can put all kinds of glows and outlines, the kind of stuff you see people put thumbnails, for YouTube. Exactly. They always have the little outline. But it's got that they kind of can animate and jitter and all sorts of things. Also has some built-in shapes, like hand-drawn shapes and stuff. So that wouldn't go around an alpha. That's just, you can just draw whatever shape you want and make it a glow or rough or whatever. So I'll tell you right now, I'm excited about shopping for myself here.
What are you getting?
Do you guys use Topaz?
Yeah.
Yes. Video AI,
They're
absolutely.
I'm so tempted. They're doing kind of a 30, 40, 50 sale. Is that a good deal?
Well, they have the photograph thing. I use only the video end, and I've had it for years. And
I use the stills one too. The stills one works great too.
Do you use Giga or the photo AI?
On Topaz, I use the photo and the video, but the photo comes in handy when I'm doing something like shooting a concert in low light and the resolution. I'm probably not the best to shoot that kind of thing, but I've used Topaz to help improve the resolution of those pictures. It's amazing. Or if anything gets blurred, it can help that. Yeah.
I use the video. I don't use the stills.
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing
version's amazing.
I was thinking about doing the stills thing, and it looks like Gigapixel. I'm demoing it. Has kind of got the same engine as photo. And you can get it for $60 right now. It's just kind of like, dang.
I can send you an example if you want to see what it's done for me, and it's amazing because this one particular picture was 2 performers on stage, low light, and so the resolution didn't look as good as I wanted it to look, so I enhanced it with Topaz. And then I walked into the studio, and there is that picture, huge, all blown up. So thank heaven I had done that because it looked really crisp and fine, made a difference, and then they used it to blow it up. It was great. It was kind of fun to see that.
No, I've seen
Absolutely.
examples. I'm impressed. Yeah. What Dason Ortiz fixed. We were working on our Christmas card, and my son was kind of out of focus in the foreground. We blend a whole bunch of shots together and to try to make some crazy scene, usually with the pets and cats and stuff. And he was just out of focus. And I said, Dason, don't you use it? And he like took a shot that was out of focus and made it perfectly in focus. And I was sold. And now I'm looking at it to buy. I'm like, maybe I can take some old family photos and make Christmas presents or something like that.
Weren't they having a sale where you could get everything in one package I think I did that. I don't know. This is a crazy time of year for shopping for all these apps, isn't it? It's so tempting.
Not only apps. I went and sprung for a new lens this morning for my Lumix S5 Mark IIX. It's a 35 to 150 millimeter zoom. That's f2.0 to 2.8. And I just went and sprung for that this morning because I have these great primes and they're fast. I don't want to be changing lenses all the time. It's a pain in the butt. I want a nice zoom with low, with a fast lens. So I ordered that. Hopefully it's as good as I think it is. I watched all the reviews on YouTube before I got it. But 35 to 150 is a nice zoom range. I don't need anything more than that. That's plenty. And 35, I have a 24 prime that I'll keep. And then I have 35 to, go through all those zoom ranges. And I'll sell I got an 85 and a 50. I'll sell both of those primes, keep the 24 and then keep this zoom. And it is heavy. It is a big lens, as you might imagine.
Yeah. I don't know. Every once in a while, I miss the old D&G style cameras with the zoom lens built in. You have to switch, right? You're covering sports or something, or you're having to climb mountains and you don't want to carry. You can't change your lens when you're climbing a mountain to get some shots. You can't.
No, I have all those. I have an HDV camera. It's got like a 10 times optical zoom built into it. Canon, I think it is.
Yeah.
It's just I was so used to that in the early days. Nowadays, you got to go. Wait a minute, you got to buy primes and you got to spend so much money on lenses.
You can get the extender and put the extender on top of that and 10 times that. It's kind of fun.
Yeah,
I'm shooting with one of the original, I don't know the name of it. It's one of those 110-year-old cameras just for fun. My granddaughter saw it in the room the other day and went, "Oh my God, that is so cool. I should go get it and show it to you guys." I bought it'll run 120 film if you get a spool that's made for it that fits it. Yeah. And so the spool, and so it's really kind of fun just to play around with film again. Yeah.
So we have a question. When you were just starting out, what helped you stay motivated and inspired during challenging projects or learning new tools like Final Cut Pro? I always enjoy learning new tools if I'm interested in them. I like learning DaVinci Resolve. That's a whole new way of learning. I really like that. And I stay away from motion because Brett takes care of all that for me. He takes care of learning motion. I don't have time for that. Logic Pro, I really enjoyed, learning Logic Pro, but I have limits. Like I said, motion, I do minimal amount of stuff motion because everybody else is so much better at it. And I can give him $50 for some plugins and then it's taken care of. But as far as learning, just starting out, when I first started out, I had a recording studio, so I had bands, and I just loved music. And that's when I started doing video. I started videotaping the bands in the studio, and I started videotaping the bands. I go out to see them in concerts and stuff, and that's why I did it, because of the music. So my motivation's been music, and now it's animal rescue. I'm big into that, and other things that are happening around my area. Tonight we're going to Christmas Street in Baltimore. It's Hamden. It's a whole block where they have this incredible, it's featured on the news all the time. All these everybody decorates the whole thing. It's 34th Street and actually in Hamden, and we're going to go up and film that. I have every year and always gets a lot of views. So
I always like watching those videos when you make them from the Christmas. You know what motivates me with new things? Because I think I have I'm not as patient as you guys are sometimes learning something new, but if I have a vision in my head and there's some new technology that lets me tell the story that matches what's in my head, then I'm really happy. And that happens a lot. So you'll envision something that maybe's never been done before, and the developers are catching up in the background, and then all of a sudden you can bring that to the screen and make it happen. It's really exciting, especially like in special effects now, what's happening with all of that, and doing something different to get your story told in a way that's going to have other people watch it that's exciting. That's really exciting.
Absolutely. And I have a video, a documentary that I've been working on for years. It's about a local band. Serena knows about it because we've talked about it. And I'm having another showing in a theater March the 3rd, the 2nd or the 3rd, whatever day of Sunday is, back here in Greenbelt, Maryland. There's nothing like seeing your film on a big screen in a theater full of people.
Oh,
there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. We worked on this for a year. Jeff Krulik and I worked on this film for a year. We're both big fans of the band. It should have made it, didn't make it, but it's the whole story of that. It's a local band. But seeing it in a theater, we saw it at the Silver Theater twice in Silver Spring. It's a big, big, big Art Deco theater. They've restored it and everything. It's fantastic. Now we're going to the Greenbelt for a third revision of the film. We've done little tweaks. We added, a few things here and there to make it each iteration a little bit different. But seeing it in the theater, and all these people are here to see it with you. Mm-hmm. They came and they paid and they, and they come to see it with you. It's just phenomenal. It's just the greatest feeling in the world to see it on the big screen. I've never, except for this film, it's the only thing I've ever seen on the big screen like that.
A lot of
used to
people
YouTube,
are enjoying your interview. The interview you did with me on OWC Radio, a lot of people are loving that because you talked about how you made the movie, which for a lot of people is really interesting. Yeah.
It's like 11 or 12 terabytes of raw data, something like that. I got to keep, managing. Now, I did get an LTO9 tape drive system, so I've backed it up on there. I have it backed up on my OWC Flex RAID. That's the main place. I have it backed up on individual 8 terabyte hard drives, and I have it backed up on Backblaze. I can't do any more than that. Okay, I got like 4 major places that it's backed up. I just can't, that if something happens and they're all gone, that's the way it's meant to be. But Jeff also has a copy of it as well. So.
Well, Philip, you keep your backup in a different location. You don't have your backup even in your home. Don't you have it somewhere outside of your house?
I have an online backup. I mean, I have 2 backups in the house, 3 backups in the house, and an online backup.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what motivates me to learn new software? I need to get a result that software delivers, and that's pretty much what drives me to learn new software. Or in the case of Final Cut, it was a desperate need to make some money because announcing Final Cut Pro 10 killed half our income, half our precarious income. And so if we didn't have a book to sell or didn't have a product to sell, we were in trouble. So sometimes I'm motivated simply by the need to make some money, and I will learn something new.
Well, speaking of that, hold on a second. Where did I put that? Well, I'll pull it up here. Let me see. I'll pull it up here. Let me go to my screen and go to App Store. Look what we have here. Come on now. Go to the App Store.
Where is it? Where is it?
I got to turn this off. I got to turn this graphic off, tenure graphic. Look, Caption Animator. Now, Philip, who is that woman in the hat?
That is my very good friend Marlon Bratcher. I have edited some pieces like this that she was shooting off herself, material that she wrote, directed, and acted multiple characters in. And we've helped each other out over the years. And she's the only professional client that I've had in the United States, professional editing client. We got together back in 2005. And she decided that she liked working with me so that she would started doing my hair while we're doing this 12-week edit. And
okay.
And so she's continued doing my hair because she figures, we'll have to see each other every 4 or 5 weeks. And so 20 years later, we have seen each other every 4 or 5 weeks and maintained a friendship where she does my hair still and I do her editing for her and look after this and that. And so, and in return, I get to use her pieces, which are much more interesting visually than my very prosaic training videos for various apps that we've made.
And then the other thing is that you have a very special price on this, right? Till the end of the year?
Till the end of the year on both Caption Animator and Caption Translator, there are lower prices for the rest of the year.
Which is only $15. Come on.
Yeah, it's 20 at the end of the year, but $15 for the moment. Yeah, yep.
It's fantastic.
It's a great little utility. It saves a lot of pain and it expands on what Apple have done. And but it's not a complex tool. It's not something that took us months and years of research to get that would have to put into the price. So it reflects the fact that it was something we could add value with fairly quickly and easily.
Well, one of the neat things about it that I really liked is you can use any title that you have.
Yep.
And that includes any of Brett's titles. That includes titles with animation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. See, that's really, really cool.
Yeah, because the captions will never look or feel like the TikTok videos, and I'll acknowledge that the Caption and Captionator, because they are doing the transcription themselves, they do have word by word timing available to them. On the downside, you only have the effects that they have provided you with as the options to use. Whereas with Caption Animator, you can use everything. We just get the text block and the overall duration. So anything that we are doing with animation, like particularly looking for a word by word animation tutorial I'm doing at the moment, that takes a little bit more tweaking of the timing on the on timing and the off timing to get it to look as if it's word by word animation. But on the other hand, it doesn't. It uses what's already there. It's right inside Final Cut. It's in a workflow extension. It's a very integrated workflow, and that adds some value as well.
Absolutely. Now, I really like that plugin. It's really and it's on sale, everybody, till the end of this year. You're saving 25%. It's only first off, it's only $20 anyway, but right now it's $15. Come on, who can't use that? Everybody can use that.
Yeah. If you're doing captions or anything, if you want to put them into visible titles, and of course you can because of the role management in Final Cut, you could translate your captions and then run each language through Caption Animator to animate the captions in each language and just manage the roles within Final Cut.
How many languages do you support right now?
Well, we support whatever is in the caption because we're not actually doing any language support directly. So
no, I don't mean the Caption Animator, any other one, the other plugin that does the translation.
21 languages in total in Caption Translator.
Okay.
They are the 21 languages that Apple supports in macOS Sequoia.
Oh, okay. That's what it is. This is the first time that I've, in years, that I've actually used the current Mac OS with the current version of Final Cut. Usually I'm 6 months or a year behind because everything's working so well. But since I got the Mac Mini, I don't have any choice. You had to do everything. But I got the 2 terabyte, and I'm using 500 gigabytes at this point. Let me see. Yeah, 500 gigabytes at this point, and I really have not installed a whole lot of. I have a lot of applications, to take my word for it, but I haven't installed anything extra. Everything external, downloads, movies, videos are all on my OWC 5 terabyte drive, and I'm up to 500 gigabytes. So I'm going to get to the point where everything's installed. Then I'm going to do a carbon copy clone of that hard drive so I can have that pristine version going forward saved.
Boy, I made a big mistake with Carbon Copy Cloner. So silly. I didn't realize when I was backing up the Mac Pro, I had another folder in the drive that I was using, and I broke all the rules. I was in a hurry, and I backed up everything on the Mac Pro to that drive. And now it's really difficult to find everything. It didn't erase it, but it's going to be really difficult to find it. I'm only bringing this up so that if anybody else is going to use Carbon Copy Cloner to make a true and real copy of your computer, make sure that that drive is clean or that it's properly partitioned, which I forgot to do.
Or use NeoFinder to catalog the drive.
Yeah.
It'll find everything, even inside of packages.
The problem with NeoFinder is, when you're dealing with hundreds of terabytes, if there's one corrupted file somewhere in the middle of all of that, I don't know if it does it now, but it used to, like a couple of years ago, I was having trouble and I couldn't figure out why it kept quitting. It was because it would bump up against a media file that was somehow corrupted, which happens occasionally.
I've had that happen exactly. Yes.
And then it would just go, I quit, and it would just quit. So it got a little frustrating.
Yeah, I've had that happen. I worked with a developer a couple of years ago. It was an audio file that kept doing it. And I realized it was just one library with an audio file that corrupted or something, and they took care of it. But I use that to catalog all my 50 hard drives that I have sitting over there on the shelf. And it even catalogs the LTO9 tapes. It even catalogs those, so I can search through those in NeoFinder. Otherwise, you got to load the tape in order to search through it. But NeoFinder keeps a library of those tapes if you set it up right. So that's really, really good. Let me tell you something. The LTO systems are not for the faint of heart, both in price and complexity. They are. It took me 6 weeks to get this LTO9 drive up and running, and I even had to send the drive back to England. That's where it came from, simply because they determined that I was shipped a drive that was actually bad, the physical drive. It was driving me crazy. Errors, this and that. It's not for the faint of heart, both for your pocketbook, and it's not just plug and play. You have to really be on it. And the good thing is I used Hedge. I bought it from them, so they were right there every step of the way with tech support. You could talk to a real person, and it was if you bought it on Amazon, I have no idea how you would get through it. Like I don't know what I would do, because it would be a nightmare situation.
True. I have I bought one a few years ago that's an LTO 6, I think. Right. And it was incredibly frustrating to set up. At the time, they were transitioning from like the kernel extensions to system extensions, and Canister was trying to grab some version that wasn't working as far as the kernel extensions or whatever. And navigating that for me was like I spent a few weeks on it, didn't have time, came back to it like almost a year later, finally figured it out. And now I'm upgrading my Mac Mini, so I have the whole nother headache. Now, what I did learn is, if you remember that, what was it? Cobalt, what was that security company that caused all those Windows computers to basically
Yeah, and shut down airlines and everything,
Yeah, I figured out the issue I was having with downloading like kernels and extensions and things with my LTO was related to Apple getting ahead of a problem with changing kernel extensions to system extensions. Maybe Philip knows more about this than I do, but basically the Mac OS, I think post Catalina was modified so that third parties can't get into the OS level kernels and cause the same problem that happened with that fiasco that happened to all those businesses and companies that were
CloudStrike. Was it CloudStrike?
Something like that. CloudStrike. That's what it was. Yeah. CloudStrike.
Yeah.
I remember
Richard,
on newer Macs, you're protected from that.
Richard, do you know if NeoFinder works with TrueNAS? Does it work on a TrueNAS system?
I think it works on anything you can load, except it doesn't work on Backblaze. But anything that you load, I haven't thrown anything at it that it can't see. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised it did the LTO9 tapes.
Yeah,
and
because I'm
catalog them.
about to try Axel AI because it does a video search. It'll search by by facial recognition,
Right,
by scene recognition. You can say, "Hey, I want to find every
right.
person wearing red socks." It'll do that. So I'm going to try it. When it's become an issue for me, I'm sure it is for all you guys too. Is how do you find anything when you have so many projects and so many years under your belt, and how on earth do you find anything?
Well, the main thing is to title things descriptively that you'll remember in the future. In the Finder,
Yeah.
don't accept these damn file names that the camera manufacturers give you, because you're
No.
never going to find something. So I organize and catalog in the Finder before I make a library.
It depends on the
Well,
project. You
here's the thing,
don't really
too.
want to take raw files and rename them if you're in like a production environment where everybody's accessing the same media. But that being said, there's companies like this one Strata that are in Axel and others that are working Jumper. I think even as simple as the tool that Philip, wasn't FinderCat your guys' thing.
Yep.
Like at least keywording in Final Cut, if you want a simple solution, keyword in Final Cut, and then those tags can come across using like FinderCat, or use comments in the Finder as well. If you're in a position where you can't rename video files, because I have come around to accepting in some workflows that is the appropriate thing to do. But I know that in a lot of the workflows I do, you cannot rename original files when you're sharing them with a production like a post house. That's
I don't know. I
disastrous.
did. I don't know how many films.
But that's not the
with
majority
Nat
of people,
Geo.
though. The majority of people don't do that.
I
Majority of
rename.
people-
I'm sorry, I rename because when we were shooting all those films for Nat Geo, when we're in the field, and I always kept the original native files, right? But
Right.
then for distribution to the editors and to headquarters, I renamed it, but I tried to keep a piece of the original name
That's
in
what
the
I do
new
too.
name,
That's what
so
I
they
do
could
too.
find it either way. But like if you have a PA or a production coordinator or somebody that's looking for some media, they're not going to have an NLE open while they're searching. They're going to want to search at the Finder level, and so the names that come out of the cameras, it makes it impossible when you're managing a huge project. This is something you and I, Bradley, we've talked about this before, and you and I have a different opinion, and that's okay.
Well, my opinion is that if you're in an organization, then you need to decide on some sort of media asset manager, and that's what you should be using to find stuff, not just handing people a hard drive and saying, search for a file on this hard drive on a Mac. There's thousands of them. Good luck. Like you need to have a central media asset manager, and there's Keyflow Pro, Strata is a cloud version of that. Axel AI, like you're testing out. There's lots of examples of that. And like I said, if you are doing the poor man solution, I feel like FinderCat is a way also to get around that.
Yeah.
FinderCat will
What
also
happens too?
Can I just jump in a second? FinderCat will take all the information you've entered inside Final Cut and the clip name and all of that, keywords and everything. It embeds them in the file non-destructively, so that with FinderCat Pro, you can restore all of your Final Cut Pro metadata from the media file and not have to rely on a Final Cut Pro project or library.
Right. Because that's the issue. Is you got to launch Final Cut Pro to search inside of Final Cut.
If you are going to rename, and if you are going to rename, I'd suggest batch renaming in the Finder, or even better, build an automator in using the Automator app to actually like batch rename. But be careful about how you implement that and do it. But
I think, of course,
keeping a piece of the original is always tying back is a good idea.
That's what I always do. I add something to the front end that would make sense to me, but I always keep the original file name. I always do that. Now, like when I worked at the National Archives, they had certain criteria that they used, so that's what they did. But for me, I have 50 hard drives over here, and I don't need the original file names for anything that I do. Now, when we worked together, Brad, on from the off the tracks, whatever you set up, that's what we did. right? Whatever system you set up, we used Frame.io, I think, at that point in those days, back in those olden days.
Yep.
So if I work in a place that requires it, that's fine. But for me, I need to find files logically in the Finder. I'm not going to launch Final Cut and try to search for them one library or two libraries at a time. But that's,
Yeah. Well, even if you're in Final Cut and you have a lot of media files and you've not assigned keywords to all of that, you're working with an editor that, or I haven't, or the editor hasn't assigned keywords. If I don't rename those at the Finder level before I bring them into the original library, then it's going to get confusing, because I like to be able to look at my list of media files and drag them into my project without having to figure out or go back to try to find a keyword. The other thing about something like Axle AI or NeoFinder is they will tell you where the original media is located even after those drives have been disconnected from your central system, which
Absolutely.
for me is really important, because I haven't, and I guess I'm sort of fixated on this right now because I'm in the midst of trying to reorganize everything here and get it better organized for the future. But when you get a call from a client that wants something that you shot 20 years ago because it now has historical significance, you don't know what drive that thing was on. And something like NeoFinder or Axle AI, does Strata do that? I don't know. I haven't tried Strata, but it'll tell you where it's located, which is invaluable.
Right. No, that's what I need. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I need. I had literally have 50 hard drives over here from Legacy. Now I'm transferring everything over to LTO9 tapes, and that holds 16 terabytes of data, each tape does. So that's really a lot of data. So I really like the LTO9 system now that I've got it stable so far. So, and mine's hooked up via Thunderbolt 4. And they sent a cable, but it has a clamp on the back, because Thunderbolt cables sometimes get wiggle loose and they get a little bit persnickety. So I have one of those clamps on my OWC dock, and they sent one with the LTO9. The LTO9 drive that I got, it's simply, this thing is I didn't realize this thing is actually a computer with a tape drive. It's not just a tape drive. I said, why are these things so expensive? But it's actually a computer. This thing is heavy. I didn't realize how heavy they were. And then the tapes themselves are not bad. $90 for 16 terabytes. It's not bad.
Which machine did you get, Richard? Which one did you buy?
Hedge, the one that Hedge recommended. I was referred to them by Chris Hawking or somebody, said go to Hedge, and that's what I got. It's made in UK, but they have people in the United States and whatever. They actually, when this drive went back, when they determined it was the drive that was the problem, I sent it out on a Monday and it was back to me on a Friday. Wow. And they paid shipping both ways. Went back to the UK, and they paid shipping both ways, because I said, I don't want to be sending this thing back to the UK if I have a problem. It's under warranty for 3 years. They said, well, it depends on where the parts are. Sometimes the parts are over here, so it makes sense. But it went out, came back. They sent me the label to put on the package and everything. So, and now it seems to be stable. I mean, I've had it stable for weeks now, so that's really good. One of the things that you want to do if you do an LTO is, as much as you can, you want to dedicate a computer to it. You don't want to be doing email and editing on Final Cut Pro and on the same computer trying to run the LTO system. That doesn't work very well. You have to kind of dedicate, not running 100 applications at the same time like I normally do. Right now I have how many things open? Ecamm Live, not too much right now, and I have messages open because I was sending you guys links. The App Store is open, but. So, Brett, what are you working on? Anything new coming out in 2025?
Oh, probably going to update splits.
Oh, are you?
And which I've been trying to do for a long time. Yeah, people always want it to kind of zoom in and out, like like a Zoom call or whatever. Right now, it's just kind of a split screen.
Right, static.
But for example, if like we wanted your box to zoom full and then zoom back.
Yes.
So I've got the engine. I just got to update all the templates.
And that's all done in
But
motion,
life
huh?
keeps getting in the way.
of
That's all in
course.
motion, yeah. And I've got something else I'm working on, which I don't know if it's ready for prime time. So, but otherwise, yeah, I think since the summit, I've been Thanksgiving, family, shopping.
Right.
Finally got our Christmas tree yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
We
we're
stopped
cheap.
getting Christmas trees because of cats. Because of our cats. They always.
Last year we didn't have one, and that's supposedly the reason, I was told by the wife. But
It's amazing
do.
that they are so attracted to this tinsel and stuff. Well, one cat would eat the tinsel, and we couldn't. You can't have that. You can't. His name was Elvis. He's no longer with us, but he was a great cat. But you would eat the tinsel. We had Elvis, don't eat the damn tinsel. So he would eat the tinsel, so we couldn't. We stopped having indoor trees since then. We decorate on the outside now.
Well, like I said too, I've been working on like the Christmas card and all that, which drove me into Pixelmator Pro. Do you guys use that?
I love it. I use it all the time.
I sound like an affiliate, but I'm just blown away. And Apple bought it, or they haven't bought it yet. They have to be approved, I guess.
They
By
do?
That's what it says
It's got to
on
be approved by the
Pixelmator
FCC
site,
or whatever.
That's weird.
They
That
will.
it's just. I mean, Apple's such a
That'll
big
get
company, and
approved.
Pixelmator is such a specific one little
All the
company.
more reason to get approval by the government.
No, the heck with the government.
Well,
Keep them out of everything.
all the
I've been
giant tech
Affinity guy.
companies eating up all the little ones. Yeah,
Hey,
true.
Apple's-
Affinity is
I've been
great,
using,
but I love that. I love that Pixelmator. You can actually save a motion project in Pixelmator Pro.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Looking at that back a couple years now, it's almost like, well, how far back was this planned? This little acquisition? Because if you look at their website, I mean, it looks like the Apple website. If you open up Pixelmator, the way the layers are and everything looks like motion. And it works. Like I was using Affinity stuff, because it was kind of like Adobe, which I was used to. I just didn't want to do the subscription.
Right.
But so, yeah, Pixelmator Pro was a little kind of, they did their own thing, which is kind of like Apple, like motion. And when I started really digging into it, it's more like the way video editors are used to compositing and applying effects. It's more like focused on a video editor's kind of mindset, I think.
Right.
Just the way it adds up effects and styles versus, Photoshop's method. And I'm blown away. Plus now they've got some AI stuff in there, machine learning stuff in there.
Right.
You can make the background disappear.
Yeah.
Just like, I mean, it's very much like the magnetic mask.
Yeah.
And they have, of course, like what we don't have in Final Cut. They have like healing brushes, They don't have generative AI. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how good like Premiere and stuff does it, but just the ability, to kind of brush something out, and it kind of does like a machine learning clone tool. It doesn't always quite work right, but I hear Photoshop's doesn't either. So,
But what are they going to do with Pixelmator? What do you think they're going to do with it?
I'm hoping they just kind of round out a new pro, studio kind of concept,
Well, you mean it's
So
like for
what
like
do we got? Well, it's a fantastic front end to motion, of course. So I'm kind of hoping the two get a little more integrated. But it's also a good front end to Final Cut because you can output. I'm going to guess Final Cut will accept Pixelmator layered files and things like that.
But I
and
don't
maybe
want
some
Pixelmator
tech,
to go away, though. That's the thing. I like
No, I
Pixelmator
think
a
it'll
lot.
stay. Yeah, I think it'll stay.
No.
So what will it be
Standalone.
in Apple, in the Apple hierarchy then? Will it be like Photo Pro, or Pixelmator, stay Pixelmator Pro with, tentacles out to other applications like Motion and Final
They've-
Cut, or
Well, they've also got that Photomator app, which kind of categorizes, which is kind of like Aperture, I guess.
Yeah, I got that
Because
at
you can
one
open
point,
up
but I
your
don't think.
library. Yeah, you can open up your photos library in there, and it sees all your albums and
Oh wow!
all
I
that
just
sort of
bought it.
stuff. So it's which
It's
one? Photo
49. Yeah, it's
Pixelmator?
like $50. Yeah, I just bought it. I went in there. It looks really cool. I'm gonna try it. Here I go,
Oh yeah,
trying
it's yeah.
something new again.
There you go. Yeah, I haven't seen it on sale, so I guess buy it now because
Nah,
So
I
I
don't
just
think we're
grabbed
going to
it.
get it for free.
So something that at the Creative Summit this year, and wasn't really paying attention while it was happening, but subsequently, motion was hardly mentioned. iPad Final Cut on the iPad was hardly mentioned. There was no big update for either one of those. The big update was, of course, Final Cut Pro 11, and then even Logic 11.1. But what was that was last year? There was, the iPad version was updated, bigger update, Final Cut update. I don't remember if Motion's like way back there at version 5 still. So, I guess maybe that's why it's $49. They say, well, we'll do $49 worth of development on it versus Final Cut or Logic, which are $299 and $199. I'm just making a joke, of course. I know it's a very powerful program, and everybody like
Motion's
Brett
$50,
uses it.
yeah.
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 And if you get the educational
If you look
version,
at the, I thought this was interesting. If you look at the Pixelmator logo,
yeah.
it is the Photos logo.
Yes, I
with
get
the
them
little
confused on my time
paintbrush.
all the time. I get them. Got to
I
make sure I
think
click the right one.
I don't know when they changed that, but I mean, they only sell this for, like Affinity sells Windows versions as well. So these guys have been just dedicated for, I don't know, 17 years or something to getting bought by Apple, I think. I think that was, I mean,
They you can't depend on that for a career choice. That's for sure.
no, but I mean, that app's been around for a long time, and we all kind of bought it when it's $25 or $30, and I think when it was just Pixelmator, I bought it, and I was like, it's like,
Yeah.
and then they came out with
It was
Pixelmator
Pixelmator,
Pro,
like,
and there was no
classic.
upgrade. Yeah, I don't know. Trying a lot of different things when Adobe went subscription.
No, I did too. I refuse to do that. As a matter of fact, I was on the beta team for nothing to do with Apple. I wouldn't mention anything with them. But for Adobe, I was on the beta team for their web design app that they were developing. They bought Go Live and completely ruined it and then abandoned it. The same as exactly what we thought they were going to do. It was an independent web design app that I really, really liked. And when they bought it, they did 2 iterations, and then they abandoned it. And they did this other
That was
web
when
design
they
app.
bought Macromedia, that they had a duplication of apps, and Go Live was up against Dreamweaver, I think it was at the
Dreamweaver,
time.
right.
Dreamweaver was always going to win.
But I hated Dreamweaver. It was so horrible to work
Ditto,
with.
and I love Go Live, but
Go Live was great.
never-
It was, but anyway, at the time they were developing this behind the scenes web. Because I complained so much about the way they treated Go Live that they said, "You want to be on the beta team?" So I said yes for this new app. So they did it. Went through the whole beta process. I liked it. It was kind of cool. And then he said, "Oh, this is going to be subscription only." I said, "What?" That's when they started that nonsense. So I said, "I'm out of here. I'm not. There's no way I'm going to, go with subscription only." I forget what the app was called. They might have had one version of it out, but it was a neat little app. It was web design, and then that's when it blew
Was
up
it
into
like Muse or something? One of those?
Yeah, it was something like that. It might have been
They
Muse.
had
Something
yeah.
that was.
I migrated from Go Live to Muse.
Yeah. I'm so tired of subscriptions. So tired. And when you least expect it, $119 or $200 or $50, it all flies in.
Well, I always say this.
Everything's
This
WordPress.
is
All our websites are WordPress now. every one of
Yeah.
the websites of WordPress. Plus,
Yeah.
with plugins like Elementor or the like to give me
Ditto.
WYSIWYG design right in WordPress.
Right. I use Everweb. It was subscription. I've had that for a while now. Here's the thing about Everweb and also, what was the other app we were talking about? Some other app. Oh, Topaz. They both are subscription, pseudo subscription, because if you don't renew your subscription, you can still use the app up to that point. Forever, perpetually.
Yeah.
You never have to update it. Waves plugins are the same way. I don't get every new iteration when they're updated. I wait a year or so, then I'll update. And that gives me, it's a little, it's a little more affordable because the apps continue to work if you
that's a good,
don't subscribe.
Yes, I've kind of got it up there ready to buy it at any minute.
Which one?
The Topaz, probably
Yeah.
Gigapixel.
Yeah,
I'm looking for a real reason to get the video, but I can't find the reason. I don't, I'm not doing the shooting usually and everything. But
well, it's really the thing about the video. People always talk about that other noise reduction plugin for Final Cut. What is it called? The real popular one.
Oh, I don't have that either.
You know what I'm talking about.
Neat video.
Neat video.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
It's been around forever.
Here's the thing about Neat Video. It doesn't upscale. Okay? Topaz will upscale and clean up your video in one process. So if I have standard def, I can go up twice the resolution, or I can go up to 4K. It'll upscale and clean up the video. Noise, at least it didn't. Neat Video didn't upscale. So I need both of those features. And it's not a plugin for Final Cut. You have to do it outside of Final Cut.
What about Embiggen, Philip?
It's a simplified version of. I mean, it's not as good as Topaz, I think, as a pure enlarging tool, but it has the advantage of being a workflow within Final Cut. You don't have to go outside. You simply work with your low resolution images in Final Cut, and when you're ready, you send that again, drag the project to a workflow extension. We will up-res everything 1600%. And match all the moves, and just send you back a project with everything upscaled. So it just looks sharper and cleaner when it comes back. There's a little bit of cleaning up going on. It's certainly not as noisy as you'd expect. In fact, one of the reasons why we included two different models is because we were getting inconsistent results. One model was good about 70% of the time. The other model was the best about 30% of the time. And we couldn't decide ultimately which one we should force everybody to use. So instead, for every upscale, we give you both as an audition, so you can determine on the image that you're upscaling in the context of what you're doing, which is the best. Still, it's like up to the editor ultimately which one to choose.
$34. I'm putting it in my cart right now.
Do you think that would be good for the stock footage, the older
Sure.
stock footage that I'm incorporating into the cut now? Would it help with that?
It doesn't work on footage. It only works on still images. So
Okay.
yeah,
but
remove motion.
Yeah, but I have a lot of historic images,
it's only on
like,
stills.
Yeah. I'm
Brett's
gonna
having
try
a
it. I'm
conversation
gonna
by
try it.
himself.
By the way, I ran
What are you
into
buying?
something.
Go ahead, Serena.
Well, I ran into something because I wanted to give one of the kids one of my iPhone 15s, and it's not a situation where you're at the Apple store, and you're just transferring it to a new phone. So I wanted to get everything off of it without having to use a backup in the cloud. And the voice memos were almost impossible. You cannot. I had something like 300 voice memos on this one phone. And I found an app called iMazing. Have you guys ever used that?
I use that. Yeah, I use that. Absolutely.
Do you? Do you like it?
Yes.
Yeah. Because I was able to get and there were some precious voice memos there because I interviewed my mother before she passed away about some of the family history. I didn't want to lose that. So
No, of course not.
I just wanted to recommend iMazing if anybody wants to get information off their phone when you're not just transferring it.
You
to
can
a
just
new
drag
one.
and drop things from the iMazing app to the Finder. So everything, applications, videos, and stuff. And this is another one of those applications that have a subscription. But when the subscription runs out, the current version you've frozen at will stay perpetually. You don't have to upgrade in order for the app to work. You can stop and wait if you want to. So that's the third app that I use that does the exact same thing. So I use iMazing all the time.
Unfortunately, that's not an option with the Mac App Store. So if we're actually selling through the App Store, we're limited to the options that Apple gives us, which is a subscription, by monthly or annual. But we can't do exactly that model that I like. So I like it a lot. You buy the current version and you get maybe updates for a year, but then you don't get updates beyond that. But as I said, most of our apps are now in the Mac App Store, and we don't have that option or that flexibility there.
Could you would have to do two versions of the app, one subscription, one perpetual, or something? How would that work?
We just don't have the models in the App Store are either it is subscription or it is a permanent sale. So all upgrades on that one are free, because there's no other way of saying this is only free up for a year. You could do a 1 year subscription, but it would stop working at the end of the year. And so Apple don't give us that upgrade. People like Jumper and the ones you've been talking about that do make that business model available have had to build their own transaction mechanism, their own licensing mechanism, and servers to handle that, which is an inherently more complex situation for a developer.
No, I completely understand that. But here's the thing, that ScreenFlow, okay, they always do this. They have their app when they do a new version. Like right now, is it at 10? I haven't used it for so long, I don't even know. But they would, when they went to the next major version, 11, they would still have 10 available. And they would put the new version on sale for like 48 hours only. And it would be half price for everybody for the first 48 hours. And after that, it goes up to the full price. Yeah. Because I used to watch them religiously to see when they did that, so I wouldn't miss it. But I use CleanShot X now for all my screenshots. I haven't used ScreenFlow for so long I can't remember. The biggest problem was they recorded. Quality is fantastic. They have a timeline and everything, but to export a simple video, it's in their proprietary format, and it takes a long time to export to like an MP4. Yeah. You can't just export an MP4 because it's recorded in their proprietary format. Now, I don't know if they're changing that or if they have changed it, but that's what it used to be. That used to be the golden standard of screen recordings.
I'm not seeing CleanShot X. Maybe I'm just.
I don't know. I think I got it direct. I don't think it's in the App Store.
Yeah, because I don't see it in here.
No, ScreenFlow. ScreenFlow is in the App Store. Yeah. But CleanShot X is really, really good. It's both for stills, for screen recordings. You can, it's omnipresent. It's always available. Oh, one other thing it does, if you have a long web page that's more than one page, it'll scroll the entire web page. It's called a scrolling capture. It'll actually scroll the entire web page and make I don't know if it's a graphic of that. I forget which it is, but it has a whole bunch of options, and it's really, really good. And that's another one. I think it's the same thing. You get 1 year of updates when you get it, and then at the end of the 1 year, it continues to work at that level. It doesn't stop working.
I use something on Chrome called Go Full Page. It's really cheap. I think it's like under $10 or something. And it will scroll through the entire web page, and then you can crop it. You can add the URL to the top, and then it's great for research, because then you can either export a JPEG or PDF, and you can name it. So you get everything on that page. I love it. It's called Go Full Page.
Okay, since the Final Cut Pro team obviously is watching this live stream and they didn't put out Final Cut Pro while we were here, it's going to be Thursday. Thursday, 1:00 Eastern time is the next They've got to do it before. They've got to do it before Christmas. They can't go to Christmas vacation, and they're going to be on vacation next week to give us the bug fix.
We need the bug fix under the tree for Christmas.
Well, they did Logic Pro, did it yesterday. That's why I figured they might do Final Cut today, but looks like it's going to be Thursday. So,
well, it's really nice to see all of you.
Absolutely. Well, next year we want to see you at the Creative Summit, though. Please. Yeah. Just schedule now. Block out the time. It'll be the second or third week of November, but I don't know what days or anything. But because last year was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. This year was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And in the past, if you remember, in the past, this year they set up the one room by the lobby and left it stay set up. And then they had the other room was around through the restaurant. That's the two rooms they had. But they used to have three rooms. And they used to reset up, divide that big room into two rooms until they did the expo night. Then they made it into one room. They did a lot of work. This time Philip, they used to they were supposed to be outside for expo, and then it was cloudy and rainy, so they moved everybody inside.
Yeah, they did.
Which worked.
Yeah, that was supposed to be in the. Yeah, it worked. But I think it probably would have worked nicer if the weather had been more cooperative.
Right. Right. No, I enjoyed everything about.
Can we stay with you, Brad?
Yes.
What was that?
Can we stay with you, Brad?
Yes, we can.
Where? In my hotel room?
I thought you had a place now at the mothership over there.
He has a tent. Though.
Yeah. Sorry. That's a good callback. Yeah. Under the rainbow.
Yeah, we had established
that. You have to sneak into the parking garage.
It's one of those blue tarp tents, though. I don't know if they don't have he doesn't have indoor plumbing or anything.
And you're hidden from the security cameras, and then you walk through on the underground parking, and then you come back up through the elevators, and then you can get into the middle of the spaceship. That's my little Apple Park hack for you. So then I'll be the tent under there.
Speaking of that, let me just pull this up.
Nothing yet, huh?
Speaking of that, here is, let me pull this. Let me see. Where is that picture? Oh, I went over to the, let me see if I can do that. Choose file. Oh, I went over there. Let me see. Primary display, App Store, Ecamm Live. I guess I can't do that. I got a picture of me and Tim Cook at the Apple campus. I was walking around the Apple campus, and I said, "Oh, I recognize that spot. That was in." Tim Cook was there when he did. Let me pull that up. Oh, you still can't see it.
The Halloween.
When he did the Halloween thing, you scary fast.
Oh yeah, the doors under the stairs. I saw you took a picture of that.
I was walking around there, and I saw that, and I said, "Well, I know that place." Anyway, I can't. I messed up the graphics that I have. Anyway, that was. I had a picture of me and Tim Cook doing the same area where they did Scary Fast. Just because I was walking around, cool. I forget what I was doing. I was looking for the bus or something. I said, I recognize that from Scary Fast. I went down there and ta-da! Had somebody take a picture. And then I did Tim Cook's over top of me, superimpose. So everybody, I want everybody to have a great holidays, whatever you celebrate. This guy back here, I was telling everybody before we went live, my father made this back in the 60s for us kids. He had a wood shop and a jigsaw stand, and I was with him as a little kid. My other brothers were more involved with the sports that my father liked. My father from Pittsburgh, so I like the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Pittsburgh Pirates. And so they were more involved from that aspect, but I liked the woodworking. He had a wood shop, and I'd stay with him downstairs when he was doing all the woodworking. And I remember, in making this one. This is the old Santa Claus used to stand out in front of our house in Silver Spring, so I've kept it all these years. He also had some choir boys and some other stuff, but this is the one that I kept. So this is from the 1960s. We were just little kids in those days.
Wow.
So Garrett says, no update. Call Tim. I should call him. But so
no,
it's going to be
still
Thursday
no
now.
Update.
Yeah, it could be Wednesday, could be Thursday. It won't be Friday or Saturday or Sunday. It's got to be one of those 2 days. So do you guys, have you played with the magnetic mask? I'm very impressed with it. Been playing with magnetic mask, so I missed the first 110 minutes of the stream. May watch the first part later. So yeah, I had somebody, when we first started doing these live streams, back in 2016, I did that live stream from my hotel room at the Creative Summit, and Brad was there, and Bill Davis was there, and Patrick Southern was there, and somebody came on and said, "Hey, I missed the first hour of this live stream. Can you repeat what you said?" Can you repeat what you said?
No.
And I think somebody said no. I think Bill Davis said no. We're not going to repeat what we said. You missed it. You missed it. You watch it on later. Back in those days, it was only Facebook Live that was feasible to do a live stream, and the dimension was 720 by 720 square. That's what they recorded in back in those days. Because I still have some of those videos from those days. So the Creative Summit was fantastic this year. I want to give accolades to Final Cut Pro team, FMC, and Apple. They did such a fantastic job. Brad did a fantastic job with the donut, so he's got to live up to that next year. Now, they're not everybody gets a donut. You got to be first in line. I mean, he doesn't have 150, 200 donuts.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, Ian Anderson started telling everybody about the donuts, and I said, no. Like, just tell the people you like.
Right. I told a few. I think I told Philip and Greg. No, you don't. It isn't broadcast everywhere, but I knew that. But I think I told Philip or a couple people, but I knew Brad wouldn't mind. But yeah, they're not for everybody. It's just a special deal, and you got to get up early.
They just, I figure, like, let's just keep it a little on the down low, so that way, friends get the donuts the quickest. But anybody who came up, I was definitely like, here's a donut.
Absolutely.
So I was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So we want to give accolades to the Final Cut Pro team. Future Media Concepts, FMC, Ben and the whole crew, Megan and everybody, they did a great job. And Apple itself for letting us come onto the campus. It was like picture perfect. You go to the Developer Center. First off, they kept us in, they kept building the tension leading up to the they did. It's like they got us there. We hung around. What's going on? This isn't the spaceship campus. What are we doing over here? Then we go into this beautiful theater. It's like a miniature Steve Jobs theater, and it's dark. And once again, they held us there for like 20 minutes, something like that, building up anticipation. And then out comes Bill Davis, and the whole place was just great. And the presentation was great. The anticipation, the sound was great. Because I remember last year, Bradley, you were talking about when they did the presentation in that office space or classroom space, you couldn't even see the bottom of the screen. And I mentioned that on one of the live screens because it's a very, very legitimate point. I said, we'd much rather be in a theater where we can see down, all this. It's just like we did it in One Infinite Loop, but this was even better. Then, once that was done, then we got to walk over to the spaceship campus. And we had they had all the food out and drinks out for everybody, and they had the demo rooms and everything. Fantastic.
And they let us take pictures.
Yeah. Bizarre. They let us take pictures. That's different. True.
Outside.
That's different.
Yeah. Outside. Now, I was anybody. The one thing that I wanted to impress upon somebody at that, when we did the demo rooms, I kept saying, where's the person that has the Final Cut camera? Where's the guy that's in charge of the woman that's in charge of the Final Cut camera? I want to show them something. I finally got a hold of him at the Q&A. And I said, look, this is what the camera does, the native camera app does. Press record, and I can choose any one of the zoom levels that I want to while it's recording live. Final Cut camera, you hit the record button and everything disappears. You have no choice. You're locked into that one zoom. It's both of these are Apple apps. I realize they're different parts of it, but they both, an Apple native camera app does a great job of that. It just like zooms in to the next level very smoothly, very quickly. There's no disruption. But the Final Cut camera app, boop, nope, you don't have any choices. Now you got to stop recording, select a new lens, start recording. You lose 2 or 3 or 4 seconds each time you have to switch. But he saw it. He knew what I was talking about. I'm sure it wasn't the first time that he heard that. But they did offer us finally, they gave us the ability to preview and log with the LUT. Log with a LUT. And they gave us the option to record log in HEVC. 2 big other ticket items that I wanted to see. So that's pretty cool. Who else has highlights from the Creative Summit? Michael Cioni was phenomenal. 90 minutes. He's like a rock. It's like a rock star. 90 minutes.
Yeah, he's amazing.
No teleprompter. He has a little couple notes on his iPhone he kept looking at. Just 90 minutes straight talk. Phenomenal.
Well, on his iPhone, he was also advancing the slides.
Right.
So I don't think he relied too much on notes or anything. He just kept going.
Yeah. Talking 90 minutes in front of an audience like that's pretty impressive. But he's like a rock star. And I also love the Fitness Plus demonstration. They use Final Cut Pro exclusively. They had all these robotic cameras. They said it's one of the biggest studios in the world, or the biggest robotic studios in the world. And my question that I asked somebody, Trevor Horton, I interviewed him at Expo, and I said, this studio was phenomenal. They put up dozens of people that work on this production, and they said that's 1/10 of the amount of people that work on these Fitness Plus programs. And they have, I think every camera was robotic, wasn't it? I didn't see anybody on the presentation with a manned camera. It was 100% robotic. And I don't mean just flying. I mean robots rolling around on the ground and stuff. And what I asked Trevor, I said, what I don't understand is, can't you let Tim Cook use some of that stuff? Tim's got to use iPhones for his presentations. Why can't he use some of this?
They'll probably make them use iPhones. Well, I mean, you could put any camera body.
Exactly.
Robot
I said,
head, but
yeah, because they use the
Plus will
iPhones on the
probably be
robots
on
too.
iPhone next year.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, but they said they had 3 petabytes of data, something like that. It's an incredible amount of data. Petabytes, is that the next level up above terabytes?
Yeah.
Yes.
They said there was how many cameras? I forget how many cameras, but it's an incredible production, and they use Final Cut. That was the best part. They didn't say, "Oh, we did this in Avid, they did this in Premiere." They used Final Cut, so that was really nice. And whatever the data wrangling was, they used all that. That was a great presentation. And what else was there? I think Tyler Stallman's thing too. He talked a lot about vertical video, how much more attention that gets on social media a lot of times. And he gets like millions and millions of views on some of his videos. Of course, now the videos look fantastic. I mean, the quality.
Vertical videos get more hits, but I don't think they get more retention or people actually paying attention.
Right. I have. It's just for social media and stuff. I mean, I haven't switched over to vertical video. I mean, we're all horizontal 16:9, except for the ones at the bottom. They're square because I didn't have room for everybody. This is the way it has to work. But no, I've
that cinema therapy presentation on Saturday. That was pretty excellent.
Yes, it was. It was good. I had to film some of that as well. So it was good. It was real good. Brad was in on that.
And Jen Jager
That's
was
a
very
great
good at the
show.
alternate. Greg and I split up on that. Greg went to the cinema therapy, and I checked out Jen because I may have some YouTube channels launching to be done next year.
No, Jen's really great. Absolutely. I always get to talk to her every time I've seen her the last two summits. And what else was there?
Wes Plate.
Yeah, Wes's was fun.
Yeah, it was a
Wes
great
Plate. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the what was it?
Great walk down memory lane.
But he was showing off stuff to come out. I guess we can mention it. I don't know the flattener
it's probably
thing.
acknowledged now. Multicam flattener, which is a big achievement because we've looked at that a couple of times, and at the surface level, the getting 80% of the way there, easy. A couple of weeks programming, you'll get 80% of the way there. You can't sell a program to get you 80% of the way there. You have to actually go and do that 80% of the work that is going to take you that last 20%. And Harry is one incredibly talented programmer, and they've done seemingly impossible. It would have been part of Final Cut Pro if it was easy.
How do other
NLEs do that so easily? How do they flatten their multicams in Final Cut Cam? Because
they have tracks. Because they have tracks, and everything where everything is in relation to everything else is not dependent on what it's connected to. If you have just a straight old multicam, it's like, but what if there's separate audio? Where do you attach that when it's no longer, the angle is no longer in there? Where do you attach? That's not even considered. What people are doing synchronized clips as angles, and the complications that come from that. It's Final Cut structure. We do flatten multicam going into Premiere. So if you're going to use Tender CC to go into Premiere, you will get flattened multicams. But because we're going into a track structure, that is much easier than going into a non-track structure.
So it's interesting.
We looked at it a couple of times and just put it in the too high basket.
That's interesting because the multicam itself is track-based.
No, it's
the
not,
multicam
really.
clip is. It's when you double click a multicam clip, it's all track based.
It looks like it, yes.
Well, it's not a magnetic timeline. I mean, it's
but they have
definitely track.
It's also not. It's still all connected to a spine, which makes it a timeline. And so it looks like it's at tracks, but in actual fact, it's not a track based structure after all.
Interesting.
They look like tracks.
But again, flattening them into tracks is very easily. Flattening it into a proper Final Cut Pro, not multicam, a flattened clip inside, or series of clips inside Final Cut, is a very challenging engineering, significant engineering challenge.
Is it the separation of video? I mean, because in Resolve, when you flatten a multicam, the audio channels essentially kind of break. It's kind of bad how it does it.
Yeah.
With Final Cut, of course, you can be selecting different audio angles. You can have multiple audio angles on. I'm sure that's a complication. But I noticed that things like committing to a audition, for example, is not as difficult. Like that's built in, and I'd feel like that flattening a multicam in Final Cut could be similar. I just wonder if it's wrapping their heads around like what happens to different active audio channels.
It is largely around that. Greg, every time I brought it up, Greg would give me a great big lecture on as to why it would work 80% of the time, but the last 20% of the time would be months and months and months and months of engineering challenge, and with no guarantee that you're actually going to make it work. You could put something in the marketplace with a big asterisk and say it does not work if you do any of these quite common things, not everyday things, but sort of thing that Brad is going to want to do. Yeah. So
and also something that breaks is like with compound clips, for example, is if you have a clip that has a different frame rate and you're trying to, break apart a compound clip, it won't break apart in the primary storyline if something has a different frame rate than the project. And I'm sure the multicams have that level of complexity on top of it as well, because you can calculating
inside there in and out points and locations when you've got 3 or 4 different frame rates in there is just going to add another layer of complexity to it. It's just a really big, as I said, if it had been if it had been relatively easy, Apple would have done it in Final Cut by now. But if they could do it to the level that they would be happy with, which means always works,
Sure.
with very few exceptions, then it would have been done a long time ago, because it's been a feature request from almost the day after multicams were introduced.
10.0.3, if I'm not mistaken. Multicams came in.
So I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, because they
remember.
they weren't.
Yes,
they
yes,
weren't
it was. It was the Bridesmaids release. That was their code name.
Okay.
Because everything that couldn't be made for the primary release was in Bridesmaids. So yeah,
Okay.
we were kind of part of that. Was the part of the release originally. The Send to 10 translation was actually going to be part of 10.0.3 as a just menu item. But during that development process, they changed their mind and said it should be released under our name. I think largely because we all acknowledge that the translation would never be absolutely perfect, and for Apple to release something that's not perfect would be eviscerated. But two guys in an apartment in Burbank can get away with some rough edges around bits around the edges.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I brought up when I was talking to somebody at the Creative Summit was, I think it was Trevor Horton. I said, something is changing with Final Cut Pro and Apple, because they did the promo for Final Cut Pro a couple months ago, and then they did a second promo for Final Cut Pro at the Creative Summit. And they've never done standalone promos for Final Cut Pro before. In all these 13 and a half years, I've never seen a promo for Final Cut Pro. Remember they did the one originally when back in the fall? Bill Davis edited it?
Yeah.
And then the one they did at the Creative Summit was another promo for Final Cut Pro. So that's two in a short period of time. So hopefully that continues. I guess
that's what happens if you put an editor in the product manager role.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I hate to say this, but I have to get my Mac Pro packaged up and sold today. So I'm going to have to head out there.
Serena, did they send you a box?
Well, on the Mac Pro, they would send me a box, but they were very pleased to know that I had the original box.
Okay.
So
yeah, I
think on the Mac Pro, it's really hard to ship that without having the components really well protected. So that's what I'm going to do. I've got the box, I've got the Mac Pro that's wiped, and I'm going to package it up, get it out of here, and then I can get my new Mini.
Yeah, when that 2019 Mac Pro was being delivered to my house, I did a live stream waiting for the Mac Pro. That box that the Mac Pro comes in is in another box on the outside of that. And I swear it was 75 pounds with both boxes and the Mac Pro. I think the Mac Pro itself in its own Apple box was like 29 or 30 some pounds, but with the additional packaging outside of that, I still have that. They could have shipped a human being inside of that thing, and they would have survived.
Yeah,
it was an incredible amount of packing, and it weighed so much I couldn't believe it. But I did a live stream.
If anybody wants my wheels, I'll give somebody that wants the wheels. I'll give it to them because it doesn't fit in the box.
Tell me how much.
Well, I bought them through OWC, so I think
you got the OWC wheels. Yeah.
The OWC wheels are great, but I think it was only like $200 for their wheels. I forget what the Apple wheels were. That was crazy. I couldn't afford that. But so I have the OWC wheels, and I'm happy to share with anybody out there. Contact me, and I will send you the wheels as a present. Happy New Year.
Absolutely. Well, I guess we're doing pretty good here. We got 2 hours and 31 minutes and 16 seconds.
Yep.
We got.
I'm getting the word from that I need to come eat. So.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Bradley, are you having donuts for lunch?
No, I'm not close to stands right now.
$1,000 for Apple wheels, I know Buddy says.
Wow. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. I got to go put a tree in a Christmas tree stand, so.
Keep the cats away from it.
Got to bow out soon,
thank you
too.
so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you for doing this, Richard. You are wonderful, and I love
Well,
your
thanks.
show.
Thanks. Look at
Thank
these
you.
great guests. They just makes the show like it's like driving a Tesla. You know, you don't have to worry about doing anything. You just.
I think I'm going
It's
to get a
burst
new
on fire
one.
anytime.
We'll talk
It's not
about that
flipped.
offline.
I can't figure it out.
All right, you
Absolutely.
guys.
Thanks
Nice
everybody
to
for
see
tuning
everybody.
in. Thanks everybody for tuning
Merry
in. Thanks.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas to
Bye.
everybody. Happy New Year's.
Bye.
Talk to you all later.
Bye.
Bye.
Right.